this group of adventurers along the high road stopped over at the Broken Spoke Tavern. Unfortunately, well, they certainly weren't the most dangerous thing out on that road that evening. Through some time in that tavern, finally getting to talk amongst yourselves and to listen in on some of your traveling companions, you learned a few things about these mysterious and mostly silent men that you were riding with. You learned a term that you believe may apply to their particular subrace of human, Vistani. It's not one you'd heard before, but, well, they were dressed rather exotically. Also, through some clever discussion, it seemed as though Ayakobachi was able to pick up a lead or two about the beast or man or beast. It's still unclear that he's hunting. And unfortunately, as the evening pressed on, well, an orcish visitor that was vaguely familiar to Narlug seemed to rub these Vistani the wrong way. Words were exchanged, and a very well placed sleep spell was thrown to prevent a
Book it.
full fight. But unfortunately, well, as was said, the mists did find you. The fog growing ever denser, forcing you to take refuge within the inn. And then, as it finally found its way through the roof and washed over you, a rather disorienting experience found you all, seemingly the following morning, in front of this massive set of stone and iron gates, standing in a small clearing, really, in this sort of hazy, pale, almost sickly seeming sunlight of a new day. As you cast your, gaze around, you are fully enclosed on two sides by very dense forests. And when I say very dense, I mean truly dense. You can see maybe 20 feet into the tree cover, and then from there on, it is darkness and mist and mystery. Behind you, this road directly leads into a solid wall of fog, like not even able to see more than inches into the leading edge of it. Um, there's a faint, just general scent of like damp and mildew here around you, and the weather suddenly, despite it being summery, is just like that autumn crisp cold that's like not too bad for the first few minutes, but just begins to seep in. And again, you're all dressed for summer, so it's probably a bit of whiplash. As I said, you all find yourselves standing here as though you were in the middle of a march, despite the last thing that you were doing being basically scrambling for your lives in that tavern. Um, and yeah, there's almost no sound. That massive amount of mist here dampens everything to this sort of dull, narrow area that you can perceive. The gates in front of you, as I mentioned last time, are initially closed, but with a dull, echoing thud of some massive mechanism disengaging and a shriek of iron hinges disused for God knows how long. The gate does ever so slowly swing open, just wide enough for maybe two people to pass shoulder to shoulder. And that is where we find you.
Did we die?
There'll be a look around. I doubt it. This doesn't seem quite right.
I don't feel dead.
Narlik pinches himself. Still got feeling there.
You do.
Doesn't seem dead to me.
Pitch me.
I'd say.
Very funny.
How's Romeo looking? It's like the three of us, we're kind of used to like some arcane weird shit. Maybe not used to, but like have some familiarity.
There's a little bit of magic in that man too,
I was
but
gonna say, besides the whole being part demon part. Or devil, whatever they are. I know
Either
there's a
or.
difference, and I don't remember which one, so I'm probably some form of Faerun racist right now.
A lady never tells. You'd have to ask him about it, but it probably would be considered a little bit rude.
Well, I don't remember if tieflings are demons or devils. That's all.
They are
Or
either
both.
or. Literally,
Oh, okay.
And most
both.
people are racist towards them, anyways.
Are they? I thought in Faerun
Yep.
everyone's like, yeah.
In
they kinda just
Faerun,
are
they're
what
a
they are.
little bit lighter. In Greyhawk, they are definitely distrusted by anybody they
Yeah.
meet. In Faerun, it's a little bit more neutral.
I mean, there was an orc at the tavern, bro. Back where I came from, like, he would have been hanging from a tree by noon.
Right.
Well, that I am as confused as you guys about everything. So
Very fair. Fair, rather. Um,
We see the sun.
like I said, you can't see it directly. The atmosphere above you, like it's kind of, I mean, think of like a Midwestern winter day. The sky is gray, not
I'm
blue.
trying to tell if I can get a sense of the time of day based on the sun position.
Given what you would think, and you can see like there is an area of the sky that is lighter than others. Now you've fully lost your bearing of east and west because
And
you've
I'm
just
not
been
proficient in
plonked down
survival
here.
either.
Right. Akabachi might be able to tell you, but given kind of how the shadows are falling and kind of what you think, you're guessing mid-morning. But yes, the sky as you look up, like I said, gray, and it starts with like low hanging clouds, and there are gaps in them, but up above it's all just layers and layers and layers of dense cloud. This is not mechanically low light, but think of it that way. Like you can see, but it is a particularly dim day.
Is there a path behind us?
Behind you is a sheer, like there's maybe 40 to 50 feet of road, and then it is just
And then it's the woods
solid
above?
fog.
Okay.
No, the road runs into the fog, and the woods are off to either side
Okay,
of you.
gotcha.
And this wall does cut right across the road, but there are gates. I'm sorry, I don't have anybody to talk to you all in this situation. It's all up to you on what to decide and how to proceed. But actually, you know what? Let's give you a bit of a hand. Everybody, give me a perception check, and anybody who feels as though it's what their character would be doing, go ahead and give me survival as well.
I would definitely be looking for like the animal life and see if there's any type of critters around that could indicate maybe the landscape
Arlog's a little
or
hesitant
the.
about breaking and entering.
High five, perception, boy.
I forgot two of you perceive seemingly super well. Okay, so unfortunately, I think Ayakobachi is a bit distracted when it comes to like searching for animal signs, so you're not going to catch like the bulk of the perception check. Although certain things like the quality of the light and the fog and all that stuff, you definitely catch. Everybody else with those perception checks, you can, even though this gap in the door is not particularly wide, you can see that the road definitely continues on for a fair ways. And as you all kind of like just focus on listening and observing like who might be observing you, there's no sign of any posted guards. There's no sign of like anybody that would have opened the gate. There's not even like any real sound that you might expect. A fortress wall like this, you'd think there'd be a town behind it. You can't hear anything. And that lack of noise is conspicuous. Yes, Michael.
What about footprints? Or
That's what I was just
wagon
gonna
cartwheels
answer
on
with the
ground
survival
that are going
check.
towards the gate and behind us.
Okay.
Into the midst.
Fair enough. That's a good question. I think when it comes to a 12, that's enough to get like wagon travel for sure because they leave a very, very obvious sign. Differentiating footprints and
Oh, there it is.
Ooh. Full on disconnect out of roll 20.
me again.
yeah,
Oh, you're back. Oh, gotta move your window back.
No, there we go. It's weird because I can hear you through all of that. Can you hear me?
yes.
Yeah, we can,
Yeah, I
Okay.
can hear you.
And you would disconnect out roll 20, but we're talking on Discord.
Oh yeah, that's fair. But I can see. So like, funnily enough, Zacky's cam goes squashed one a DC, and you froze, Mike. Let me, first of all, my food just got here. I'm not going to eat it, but I'm going to go grab it, and I will switch over to my my other headphones
Yeah,
when
whatever
I
you
stand
want
up
to do.
do that. So I will be
We'll
right
give it
back.
all a
No,
shot.
it'll make it easier for you
Yeah.
guys. I will be right back.
I say I'm straight up eating right now, anyways.
Yeah, I'm down to walk down that path as a squad. I'll stay in the back and watch our back. I would like to check out that forest, but I'm sure there's be plenty of forests to check out, so there's no rush.
That's a super thick forest. I don't know how well you're gonna move through it.
Exactly, and it's the outside of this wall, so I might want to go on the inside and then start checking some forests.
As imposing as it is that there is a gate in front of us and a whole lot of not much else, it almost seems like an invitation.
Mm.
Yeah.
Not one I'd be inclined to accept had I any other recourse.
Yeah.
But it's pretty much that or sit here and starve to death, so
Mm.
Yeah, unfortunately, Narlog does not have any rations.
And I would definitely like to get away from that mist for sure, because that mist was an asshole.
even stranger that when that Vistani man seemed to
Okay.
curse the orc, he had pointed at him very specifically, and yet we all found ourselves here. Not to mention, we haven't seen what happened to the kobold or Bev or her father. Did they come here before us? How much quicker? We don't see them at all. Like you would think. Or
Keep
that
an eye
gate
out.
might still be open. Who knows? So mysteries upon mysteries.
First, to answer your question about footprints and whatnot, because that may help solve that mystery. Can you all hear me all right, by the way?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Also,
Perfect.
feel free to eat. You don't have to not eat.
I'll
You
eat
can
in
park us in
between.
an RP spot and we'll eat. Or we'll talk and you can eat.
Fair. No, it's okay. I've had a very busy day.
He's
so
mid description.
kind of doing a bunch of stuff.
It's a really big room.
Right. So, as far as foot traffic and cart traffic, you can definitely tell that carts do pass this way reasonably often. And as far as carts go, there's definitely both in and out, and seem to head right out into the fog. Footprints, I'll give you at least a vague idea. Because again, a 12 is not phenomenal, but it's not terrible. It does definitely seem like there's much more foot traffic in than foot traffic out. But as for species or how recently, I think that that's not something you can necessarily pin down with only a 12. As for the kobold and the orc and Bev and her dad, no sign of any of them.
At the very least, we should probably go look for them to see if they're all right, yeah? The four of us look like we can handle ourselves. The orc looked like he could probably handle himself, but he was on his own and sleeping.
Correct.
Did
The
that have
kobold
any
had
effect?
no gear. Yeah, hard to say. And Bev and her dad, Bev struck you as not a combatant, not an adventurer. Her dad definitely had a scar or two and a
There's
sign
an
that
air of mystery
once upon a
about
time. Yes, he didn't talk much. He also seemed like borderline narcoleptic. Literally fell asleep every several minutes.
that. Long day.
Maybe. But
Curse of
that
narcolepsy. Terrible curse.
or that.
I know that.
But yeah, basically, if the intent is to see if the others are okay, you don't see them here, and your choices are delve deep into woods that are difficult to make anything out, or try and head down the road, which I think you would all realize is probably what a civilian would do.
Yeah, we had a minor small conversation while you had gotten up, and we discussed that.
Sorry.
There's not a whole lot of places for us to go besides the big imposing gates that almost seem like an invitation. And in any other circumstance, we would refuse such an invitation. But we don't seem to have many options.
Yep.
And so Yakobachi had mentioned taking up a rear position in a marching order. And so I think
Fair.
from here we'll head towards the front and draw
Okay.
the sword and shield.
Fair
I'm gonna
enough.
Stand back by Yakobachi.
Okay. And then Romeo, you're going to find somewhere in the middle of the pack. You scouting
Yeah.
ahead. Okay.
Yeah, 'cause it seems like Herbert's got the best armor, so if anything
For sure.
attacks, you'll be the ones with the most defenses.
Okay.
And that way, and then if there's someone that's friendly, though, I could just pop up and just talk to them.
For sure. All right. So, weapons out. Like, I assume not in a threatening pose, but just so that they're at hand in case you need them.
Ready. Yeah, definitely
Um,
not like an armed shield up,
Sure.
peeling up behind the back of the shield. Just
Right.
just let it
Fair
ride
enough.
and walk, man.
Yeah, you've got probably 100, 150 feet up to the gate, so at a slow walking pace, I assume, but not at like a creep. You move your way forward, and you realize, like, this wall towers over you. It's probably 80 or 90 feet high. This is up there with like the city walls of Waterdeep in terms of scale. And as you come under this actual archway that the gate is mounted in, you see that it's not just like the crenellations on top where there could be posted archers, though you see no sign of movement up there, but there are all sorts of murder holes and like trapdoors in the ceiling of this arch. This could very easily have been sealed for a siege, and they would do a good job of holding off anybody attempting to make their way through here. But as you come up to this doorway, again, it is just almost echoing silence. Your footsteps ring back to you, bouncing off of the fog. It's a little bit disorienting, even, like how you grow so used to that background hum of insects and birds and small motions and movements out in the forest when you're out on the road for as long as you all have been. And there's just none of that. And it leads to this general sense of like wrongness, that there should be anything else moving out here, and there just isn't.
No
You
wind,
pass
breeze rustling or anything.
right now where you are, utterly still. You pass through this archway, I assume carefully peeking behind the door to make sure there's not someone, waiting to jump out and stab you. And to the best you can tell, again, it's abandoned. And these gates open just enough, like I said, for you guys to kind of walk through two next to each other if you really wanted. And on the other side, there's not even a settlement here, but there is like kind of this old slumping gatehouse, like this sagging thatched roof that has not been replaced anytime recently. Just sort of sad stones that have been built up into the vaguest approximation of a building. And it looks very mismatched with the grandeur of this big castle wall. But it also does look like there was a small fire here, and probably not horribly long ago. Like a campfire. Sorry, not the building
Okay.
catching fire.
I'll
Somebody
stop.
had built a
No, it's
small
like
fire
rolling.
out.
Also,
Sure,
I
sorry.
should have said it while we were doing it, but when we were passing that arch, those
Mhm.
heads, they were knocked. I saw in the picture, it was knocked on the ground, like a decap.
Yes.
Can we walk by it without taking a lot of time? Does it look obvious that it was naturally fell, or it was destroyed with like force?
Okay.
Like, did somebody knock it off and like cut its head off, or did it just fall over because it was old?
That would be one hell of a weathering to knock off just the head of a statue.
That's
like
what I'm
that.
thinking. Like, how did
Yeah,
that
I was
happen?
trying to decide if that's even something I would ask you to roll for. I think it would be clear that given the rest of the statues, while they are moss covered and definitely pitted and weathered from being out here for a long time, there's no other sign that other delicate pieces of them have weathered away. So like the fingers are still there, the crossguards on the swords are still there, the swords themselves are still there. It looks as though they were struck from the shoulders of these statues and have fallen into the road. And what you see, if you're going to study the faces, since you're, I assume, taking a look, closer at them, the appearance of both of them appear to be either elven or half-elven. Very high cheekbones, very narrow chins, sort of points to the ears, maybe not super long, which is why I say it's kind of hard to tell which. And these definitely aside from just the obvious arms and armor being a part of them, these have like the bearing of a military man. These were some sort of statue to honor some sort of hero, perhaps. They are two different statues, but the two of them look as though they could have been brothers.
Okay.
Very
Brother
close in
elves.
familial resemblance.
Brother elves decapitated. I got you.
All them elves look the same. I tell you what.
You know, with these high elves, I'm gonna allow that one because I can't stand these guys. These pretentious. You'd actually probably like them, Narlug. They're they're into the finer things in life. Like books and reading and knowledge and stuff.
Hey,
like
if you're
that.
into books, cool with me.
Yeah, but they are pretentious.
What's pretentious mean?
We'll figure it out together.
Okay.
My mom used to say all the time. I don't know. I just.
That's great. I love that.
That's a good parenting phrase, actually. I like
It is, actually. I like that a lot. So,
Cabin.
as noted,
Or a
this
campfire
little
that's out of
sagging,
fire.
Yeah, like a gatehouse. Like this is where, if there were posted guards, this is kind of where they would have a place to get out of the rain and all of that. But out front, there is a recent seeming campfire. There's no like proper circle of stones or anything, but the remains of burnt charcoal and whatnot. And you do see like small bones scattered around, but they still have scraps of meat on them. Something was cooked here and probably eaten. And go ahead and give me a survival check. Anybody who wants to participate. Or I'll take investigation too from you, Rolmir.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah, I'll do a survival. I'll look for any signs of maybe how many people there were. I can signify how many footsteps there were. Maybe figure out how if 2 groups of people or 3 or 4 sets of footsteps. No, there's definitely.
Oh no!
Character sheet's taking a hot minute to load.
What up,
Zachy, you definitely have the bonus, but that
What up,
the dice don't like you.
Right, not today, not yet.
A natural 2.
I got a 1, a 7, and a 2. Yeah, podcasts or character sheets take forever to load. I hate it.
So, kind of putting your heads together here. I think Ayakobachi, at the very least, you're able to tell this campfire probably went out just a couple hours ago. There's still like the most lingering bit of warmth to it, and there's no trailing smoke or anything more. But this was recent, the previous night, perhaps. Narlug, I think you're kind of like, looking at what was cooked and eaten here. Some sort of small bird, hard to be sure. But you definitely notice that there are 2 piles where the bones have kind of been put. So maybe 2 people sitting here. And Rolmir, or one very messy person, but they are like kind of in 2 distinct spots, sort of across the fire from each other. And Rolmir, while they're kind of poking at that stuff, I think you dip into the little building and kind of look around. And in here, that's a quite good investigation roll, actually. I think you would spot there is like a bit of fabric torn away between 2 kind of sharp stones in the floor. They're pounded in, but they're not particularly well maintained. There's no grout or anything. And you spot this looks like a similar purple fabric to the shawl that Bev was wearing. So you're pretty sure maybe they laid down here to rest. And when she either turned in her sleep or they got up, there's a bit that got caught between the stones and was torn away.
Okay. Was there like anything like else like that shows like any evidence of them being there?
What are you looking for in particular? Because it's a stone floor inside, so it might be kind of hard to spot too much. But like poking around outside, there are probably 2 distinct sets of footprints.
Because if was there like any like you said 2 distinct footprints, so it was
2.
Well, like her dad had a whole bunch of like gold on him though, so I was seeing if like there's any like
like if there's any. Okay. Well, it was all jewelry and stuff. I don't think necessarily you'd find any like left behind or anything. But while not gold, I think you might spot like some scuffs where something metal might have like touched the stone, either on the ground or like on the wall where someone might have sat. But rather than something soft like gold or silver, iron, like a belt buckle, or maybe the straps on boots or something similar. And that's recent as well. Like you can see there's spots where like the moss has been scraped from the stones as somebody like kind of leaned against the wall and then kind of like shifted. Um, but unfortunately, nothing specifically gold that
Okay.
links to them.
Where did is there like a trail from like the footprints that they, like any idea like where they would have went to?
Seemingly back towards the road, which then kind of gets all muddled into the ages and ages of foot traffic that has pounded this road flat and kept it that way. So like there's just divots and footprints all over the place, but you see that they came from here towards the road and then you kind of lose the trail, I think, in the mix.
Okay. Guess I'll relay that
And
information to everyone else. So yeah, so I found a piece of cloth though that was like similar to like what Bev was wearing though, and there's like 2 footprints just leading out back towards the road though. Do you guys want to check it out, see if we can find them?
Sounds like that's the direction we were going to be headed in anyway. Although I'm curious, how much earlier than us did they arrive then?
According to these,
They decided the best thing to do was to make a fire and eat.
well, these embers are maybe from last night tops, so they
And
couldn't
what
have.
food?
Hey, maybe Dad's a good hunter.
You know, we didn't really know too much about him. He was sleeping most of the time, so
Can-
maybe when push comes to shove though.
Can I see
He
that?
hunts.
Can I see that fabric?
Yeah, I just
Real kind of cartoonishly hold his ear out. What did he hunt?
I don't know. Small game. I don't know.
Maybe he
Look
had
at the
pocket
bones.
birds.
Maybe he had a pocket bird. Yes.
and as you do that, by the way,
Birds in your pocket?
I'm
He
gonna
was
start
the
checking
cook.
my pockets. Start checking
Maybe he
my
was mid
pockets.
cooking and just.
Ooh, this one. Ooh.
Never know with Narlock. He might.
Remember
there
to
might
let
be
your
business
pocket
there.
birds out.
pocket doves. Um,
Can I see that fabric?
Yet again.
yeah.
It's funny you say that
Let
because I do
doves
have
do
a
not
bag of
eat.
sand. I
I'm
do
gonna
have
take
a bag of sand. You know, pocket sand's coming out at some point.
someday.
of course.
I'm gonna take the fabric and I'm just gonna be like, I'm gonna start smelling it as hard as I
Okay.
can. See if I can get
With the
Bev's
intent of
scent.
trying to track.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I think that actually, funnily enough, again, you saw her dad had reasonable wealth. She probably would have been wearing perfume. It's like there's a faint hint of like lilacs or something, some flower that you catch there. That might be memorable enough to kind of pay attention for. And speaking of the road and continuing on, and also Irvir, your kind of like comic listening. As you do that, there is way distant, and like it echoes and almost like warbles strangely. But there is a single lonesome and sorrowful wolf call off in the distance, like
I
far,
didn't do that.
at least a mile away.
That was not prestidigitation. That wasn't a prank. I didn't do that.
It sounded legit to me. I think I got the scent. If you guys want to follow me, I'll lead the way.
And speaking of following, the road here passes through the gates and kind of goes around sort of like a spur of the woods. So you don't have a great view more than a few hundred feet ahead. But are you going to kind of progress down the road, or are you going to try and hunt around here, poke into the woods? What are you thinking?
Probably mosey on.
Yeah,
Put
if
a vote to the group, but I think moseying.
if Bev's life and her father's lives weren't directly probably in danger in some way, shape, or form, then
Mhm.
I'd be down to trust me. I love moseying around the forest. That's what I do. But
I'd rather get a landmark first before we just go aimlessly walk around the woods.
that's fair.
Especially
That's
we
fair.
don't know when the mist will catch up too. So
That's
Fair
true.
enough.
We don't
Well, I
know
will,
the
if you want to
rules
go
to
all
And
the-
out, find
as
Bev,
you
I could
say
definitely
that,
do it. But if you want to be a little more cautious, we can go a little slower.
fair. Romir, as you call attention to like the mist catching up, like I think you kind of subconsciously would check over your shoulder back down the road where you came from, and it doesn't seem as though it's continued to creep forward. It's just
Okay.
this static wall of it that seems to be kind of parked there.
Right. I mean, well, I guess I'm just a little paranoid because it did kind of eat us.
No, of course. I don't blame you for that. I'm just
Justifiably
clarifying.
paranoid, that's good.
It is not still chasing after you down the road. At least for now, seems to have been sated. But yeah, if you all kind of, you check for that scent, you're kind of paying attention partly to the road, partly to the area in front of you. You slowly press on. And I think as you move further from this gate and kind of to where the road kind of jackknifes around the trees there, it's almost like sound slowly comes back into focus a little bit. It's not as though there's a lot all of a sudden. You don't hear bird song and, small critters frolicking through the undergrowth, but there is at least like the faintest whisper of wind through the trees. And as you round that corner, you see that you're actually up kind of high on a hill that sort of gently slopes down into a little valley in front of you. And while you can't see further than maybe like a half mile, just due to how hazy everything is, because the fog and the mist are persistent here, dampening both color and vision, at too far of a range, you can see maybe the edge of like a little hamlet or something. There's a cluster of buildings that seem to kind of be built along the road. And you kind of, as you progress slightly closer and closer, more of it comes into view. And you can see, because you're above, yeah, it's a gathering of maybe, I don't know, 20 or so, maybe 30, hard to tell unless you stop and really count. Small houses with an obvious little round, like town square area, and then set up on a hill after the ground comes down and then starts going back up. You can see what you would assume to be a church just based off larger, kind of taller building with a clear steeple like set at the pinnacle of it. But if you stop and observe for a moment, you don't see any people, though you do see smoke rising from a few of the chimneys.
the
is
the trail's
cold.
the trail's dying here, but if I'd be a betting man, I bet you Bev went to that town.
Yeah, it's
Seems
wise
like a
assumption.
logical decision to me. I suppose we should also head down that way. I mean, it is chilly. So
Yeah,
I
maybe
wouldn't
we
want
can
to be
find an
outside if I didn't have to be either. If there's fires going. Whether that's a cooking stove or a warming fireplace, either
Right.
or.
Is there like an obvious entrance that's like got like an archway that you walk through, or is it just like can we?
There's no wall or anything. And again, it's like maybe half a mile out. It just looks like basically road that is just open travel road slowly becomes road for scattered houses.
The old fief.
Yes.
If we sneak in there, it might actually give the wrong impression. We might want to just walk through the front.
I suppose that tracks. We don't know where we are. We don't know who we're gonna.
I don't know who was there. I'm not trying to get
My
hunted.
first thought, though, when I walk into a town, is not to sneak, though. Usually far.
I don't spend a lot of times in towns. I do a lot of sneaking. Most towns I go to are like in forests, and there's only sneaky ways in there. There is no entrance, so I don't really know. You guys tell me.
Like a tree house.
I mean, there are tree houses.
I believe
nice.
you. That was a legitimate question. I don't know enough about the forest.
They got tree houses. They got bush houses. They got rock houses. They got even stump houses when the trees get cut down. It's crazy. Very
I
resourceful.
mean, most of the time when I just go into a different town, though, I don't tend to sneak into the town, though, because that kind of just makes people seem suspicious of you.
You see,
My people tend to just raid in the night.
well, I'm glad I owe you, Raumir. I'm glad I owe you. I'm gonna follow your lead.
We don't raid towns anymore, no luck.
Yeah,
No more of that. Not if you want to keep reading.
I never willingly did it, but gotta follow.
You get caught up in it,
Yeah, you gotta follow the pack sometimes. And
okay, well, you can follow the pack.
We'll make a
though,
man
but-
out of you yet.
I'm following the pack this time.
hey, you find me a brothel, and I will become a man. I have my sack of gold ready.
Priorities, Narlug. Priorities.
Right. We
And-
gotta help Bev,
And figure out where we are.
or maybe Bev can help us. She's
Well-
from here. Maybe she's familiar.
It's funny you say figure out where you are, Ervir, because I was literally about to say, as you progress down the road, while the sign doesn't match the distance, there is a road sign that has been seemingly wrenched out of the ground and has now fallen flat. It's just like literally a plank on a wooden stake. Maybe it would have been like 5 feet high with just a little placard on it that indicates Barovia Village, 1 mile with an arrow. And as you kind of stop to look at that, you're close enough now that you can get like a decent layout before you start to lose overhead view of the town. And this is approximately what you see. You're coming in from the right-hand side of that map.
So there appears to be like a little town center in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And not that Akiobachi would notice something like this, but just in general, the makeshift of these buildings. I mean, it looks like craftsmanship by an intelligent being who, it's not like a hut made of straw. It's like a actual building with wood and like roofs with tiles and chimneys made of stone and stuff, and it looks like well constructed.
Yes.
Yeah,
well,
that's
it looks like it was once well constructed.
Maybe it's worn
but
out.
as you grow closer, you realize that sort of moss-covered and bedraggled look of the gatehouse holds true here as well. Everything here looks like it's been here for maybe a few hundred years even, and it's been maintained, but man, it looks like this damp, gloomy weather is consistent because everything here has a case of mold and mildew and lichen and moss covering everything. It's not to the point where it's literally like plastered over every surface, but you can see signs of water damage on every single house. And they're kind of quaint little cottages, maybe a little bit of brick or stone, followed by wood and thatched or tiled roofs. Again, not in full disrepair, but there are certainly houses here that have fallen into full decay as well on the outskirts of the village.
There are 4 buildings that stand out to me. Do we have a good enough of a look that I might be able to make a guess as to what kind of buildings or function they serve?
The big one that's off the town square is presumably some sort of meeting place. There's a number of chimneys off of that building, be it a town hall or perhaps even like a tavern or wayhouse. The one that's in the top left is the one that appeared to be a church that has like a clear steeple. The one that's in the top right, I assume, is also one of the ones you're thinking of. That blue building, it's much larger than the other houses, but it appears to be a house. Given what you know about Faerun and how little hamlets like this are laid out, that's probably where the town leader would live. It's like has a clear, like, not ostentatious and wealthy, but just like big and of station. It sits above the village and kind of looks out over it. And then the other one that you're asking about is way down south, or what's your?
Yep, that last south big orange building.
Fair enough. That actually strikes you again as a larger house, but as you grow close and can kind of get a vague look at it over the other roofs, you think that like one side of it is probably more of a open like barn than more house. It's like a narrow and tall house that then has like a big open, like sort of barn style roof goes all the way to the ground section of the building.
Some kind of
perhaps
building.
Stable, warehouse, something like that.
Yeah.
And as you pass like to where the first houses, which are actually even further to the right than this map really shows, they kind of extend out into like patches of sad, damp, soggy farmland where like the most minimal of sprouts are fighting to grow through the soil. The buildings out this far are like really run down. There's not a lot of sign of anybody occupying them. And this is where like you do really hear like the creak and groan in the wind of these buildings, like just sagging and beginning to lose their proper shape. Like doors creaking in the wind, and sections of roof tile just occasionally will fall and shatter on the ground below. Nobody is caring for this section of town. But as we move through, I
And we're
believe we have
entering
two.
from like the east side, right?
You're
Towards
entering
the...
from, yeah, we'll
Okay,
just
okay,
call
okay.
it east. Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't know for sure which direction,
Exactly, but
from
for
the
the
map,
sake of
it's
this
called
map
east.
that I'm looking at,
We're
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
use true north.
Yes. Yeah. So you're perhaps like 5, 6 rows of houses out, and they're kind of smattering of farmland here. You do hear, those of you with passive perceptions of 15, which I believe is Irvir, and then also Ayakobachi. You would hear off to your right, there's like this little house that's maybe 15 by 15, 20 by 20, depending on how good you are at eyeballing it. And you hear something rustle and then skitter on the inside. Doesn't sound like footsteps, but sounds like a small animal, perhaps, just like starts and like is startled by you walking up the road and moves off further into the house.
Is that you, Kobold?
And as you call that out, your voice again kind of echoes slightly in the fog, but nothing comes to answer it. No return voice, no, like, you don't see anything like peek up. There's one window that's kind of like fallen out of the front of this that's laying broken on the ground. It's full dark inside. This like dim sunlight doesn't penetrate under the eaves or anything, but nothing answers you.
Be ready
That's
for
you,
the worst.
Kobold. It's your friends from the inn.
And I assume you're not yelling, you're just like a high speaking voice to kind of
Yeah.
cast to 30 feet, but not
I don't need
announce
to alert the whole
the
town
hamlet.
that we're here.
Right. And you would think normally that like calling out like this in the middle of the street would get someone's attention. Nobody.
How far away are we from the house?
30, 40 feet. Here, we can move on to a map if you want.
Yeah, I'll definitely just have my bow ready, and I always can cast some light if we need some to bright it up too.
This is the same sort of thing. Like I feel like the mod should have some of these. It's just like, oh, players want to poke around. So yeah, you guys can drop yourselves like kind of over here in the house that you're hearing motion from. What is this one?
Yeah. Darleg's just gonna approach the front door.
Okay. And like I said, this window has fallen out. So like if you wanted to peek, you could first. But also, yeah, there's a door. And there is a lantern here that kind of sputters like very pale, kind of weak light. But as you just walk by it, I think you'd clock this spell. It's very low level. This is a continual flame, not an actual fire. So it's like a
So it's kind of
spell
been here
that's
for a
shedding light.
while.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Narlug's a pretty polite person, so he's just gonna knock on the door.
Okay. As you knock, you hear more of that like skittering and scrabbling, and now it sounds to you like it's probably actually more than one small creature, but you hear perhaps 5, 10 sets of tiny feet just scuttle away from the door and off kind of like deep into the top right as far as the map is concerned, corner of the house.
I'm gonna read book 20 real quick. My sheet's hold on.
Okay.
I can still hear everything.
Yeah, I guess you're in Discord.
Well, go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, was I able to like notice all of like the small critters and stuff like that?
I think you'd hear. Let's see. What's your passive perception? I'm sorry. Pull that open. I should have all of your sheets up. You must be above a 10, right?
It's the bottom left-hand corner.
You're 11.
11, yeah.
I think it's left side under your stats. Yours is an
it's
11. So I think you don't hear it at first when they're further out, but as like Narlug is willing to just walk up and knock on the door, you hear that second set for sure. Now that you're paying attention to what he's paying attention to.
Okay, and then I kind of just like worry about Lakobachi to like see if he could figure out like identify like the tracking or the sounds of like the animals though.
Yeah.
He
Okay.
has...
I am totally down for that. I'm gonna cast Longstrider on myself preemptively.
Okay. Doubles your movement, correct?
It just give me 10 extra feet.
Oh, it's 10. Okay, right.
And I'm gonna come around this way, and I'm gonna try and sneak up on this window on the outside. Well, obviously, Yakobachi's gonna look for a window, and when he comes to this side of the building and sees this window, I'm gonna try and sneak up to it and peek in and see if I can see what's going on.
Sure. All right. Go
I'm
ahead.
just gonna follow Yakobachi real quick and say, "May the great guide bring you to your destination." And cast guidance
Useful.
on Yakobachi.
Hell yeah.
Are you actively stealthing, or you're just doing your best to kind of like
I'll actively stealth. That
stick
sounds
close
fun.
to the wall and be quiet? All right, go ahead and roll it. Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
mean,
sneak
you
right
are
there.
very sneaky, like perfectly below the frame of the window, so you can pass under it without, being seen, and you're able to just like barely peek up into the corner. Again, your perception, your passive is quite high. And as you're both listening, creeping by the side of this house, and then you catch like a sneak peek into the window, you're sure it's rats, and it's not like 10, it's like 40 of them. And you see like underneath, I can just, I want to show you the whole thing because you wouldn't be able to see from there. There's like a pile of crates in that far corner, and they're like swarmed in and under it.
I'm gonna slowly try to go back without having to yell, and let the group know it's a gang of rats. Individually, I know it sounds useless, but as a group, these could be very dangerous.
And you do know that they can, when they get fired up in a swarm, they can be a problem for sure. And this, you could tell, this is a home, given what's left of the stuff that was in there. This is not like a storage building.
My mother would always say, one rat is a nuisance, but 2 rats is a horde.
And actually, I think. Sorry, it took me a second for your motherly advice to hit me there. Ralmir, you snuck right by this window. I'm going to show you guys the full interior because between the two, you'd be able to see it. Yes, this is the barest definition of a house. A bed, some remnants of furniture, and some signs of a very bloody struggle of somebody being wrenched from bed and dragged to the door. Which probably was not known by rats.
What if they have a rat king, though?
Possible.
We can only pray they don't. Once
I don't know why they drag it out of the house, though. Whatever it was.
Do you want to exterminate the rats, or do you want to leave them to be in their little rat nest?
So, I'm going to do an investigation check, though. I want to see if there's any more, like, signs of struggle that are, like, outside of, like, the house.
Okay. Fair enough. Go ahead and roll it.
Guess I'll just kind of keep watch on the outside and, like, look around us as the sentry while they're investigating house stuff.
Okay. I just want to point out, I'm sorry to make you the butt of a joke here, but I am picturing Narlug waiting patiently with a smile on his face for someone to come answer the door
Yeah.
still.
Oh, that's taking a while. Might be in the middle of using the bathroom.
Ralmir, unfortunately, that's only a 5, but I will give you, because it's very evident of 5 being like kind of a low success. This window was not like naturally pushed out from the inside. You can see there are marks from like a pry bar. Something popped this window and probably entered that way.
Okay. Like the stuff over here.
The one right here. This is a picture window that's been pulled out of that frame right in front of it.
Okay.
Oh, I'm on the wrong layer. I'm sorry. This window.
Okay. Cool.
It's probably came in through the window, and then, well, you can see where they left from. That's for sure.
Don't happen to smell any lilac or see any pieces of shawl over here, do you?
Not that I don't know
Doesn't
of.
seem like it.
Yeah, not that I don't know of.
Not without going closer.
Hold on. You smell great, though. thought that was
Bro, is
lilac.
that
I
sandalwood?
thought that was lilac, but that was just you.
It's probably the incense in my pack.
Oh, that's probably it.
Narla gets the feeling that nobody's home.
No.
They're just gonna back off from the door.
It was a good attempt, Narlock. It was a good attempt.
Unfortunately, rats do not have thumbs to open the door for you.
Mm-mm.
Okay. You want me to relay that information about like people? Yeah. So I did notice that there was a big bloody trail from leading from the bed to the door though, and then the door seems to be broken through like a pry bars.
Yeah, somebody pried the window open, probably got this person, and then came back out the door based on where the trail is what you
That's
see.
too sneaky to be orcs.
Not a monster. Something
Probably not.
with intelligence.
Yes. Someone who has opposable thumbs, so not rats.
Well, I don't know of any creatures who use crowbars, so no beast that I know uses one.
I mean, maybe someone in town will have some information for us. It seems like a lot to just break this door down and try to exterminate 40 rats for not a particularly good reason other than a lot of rats isn't good.
Hygiene.
Normally, level 2 characters need an innkeep to give them a quest to eliminate 40 rats.
I
so-
honestly thought that's where this was going because I did not remember the rat house. I was like, oh, this is just welcome to your first quest. We need you to kill rats, except instead of 5 in this basement, it's 40. And in the whole house.
And their tails are all combined into one.
Welcome to Curse of Strahd, assholes.
Curse of
I'm
rat.
shocked you don't remember the rat house because this is what you've already not fallen for it. This is what I mentioned in the Discord the other day. Brandon kicked in the door and was beset by many rats in one round.
Well,
I'm down to
Yakubachi,
continue towards the middle of town. I'm sure if there's anybody here, that's where they'll be.
Fair enough.
those rats
So
are
you're
lucky
gonna move
today.
on?
These rats are lucky today, but the next set of rats I see,
Oh, the map is there. Okay, cool.
done for.
Yeah, it's in your journal now. Then you can pop that up and look at it whenever you want.
I was looking by the player art.
Gotcha.
I thought it would be there. No, I see it.
So yeah, I added that one in. The player art handout from the mod has location identifiers on it. Like it has number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Chapter 4.
That's
Be like,
stupid. I don't want you to know
okay.
exactly what house to check, for example. But as you kind of decide, you know what? Not our place. We're not going to mess with this. And you move further into town. Echoing a bit ahead, like maybe down a cross street or something, you hear just like kind of the rattle of maybe hand cart wheels, like somebody pulling a cart. And it stops. And there's the vaguest, like, groaning of iron hinges, presumably a door opening. And you do hear sort of like hushed voices, not as though they're trying to be, they're not whispering or anything, but just like subdued, kind of quiet conversation between two different voices, both of which sound female.
This is one of the houses we approached?
Further, like another street in, like basically around on the other side of the next set of houses.
Okay.
But it's the first sign of life, you know, beyond
Something
rats.
besides rats.
The rats have learned common. They sound very feminine.
Well, you did say the next set of rats you find you're gonna kill.
Oh,
so I'm down to approach.
These
And
voices better hope they're not rats.
Narlog is down to do the same thing. Just approach and knock on the front door.
Yeah.
Unless.
Oh, no,
somebody
it sounds like
approaches.
there's conversation happening in the street.
Oh, in
like
the street.
somebody
okay.
has opened their front door to talk to somebody who's pulling a wagon.
Okay.
You can hear them openly outside. So all you got to do is, like, if you're going to approach, just go kind of around the houses and come up. And I assume you're not sneaking. You're moving quietly and cautiously, but you're not, like, trying to be stealthy.
Yeah,
you're just going to kind of
right.
walk up and say hello.
I'll pretend not to be armed.
Fair enough. Or at least,
George Michael.
George Michael.
Came for some snuggles.
But at least not like weapons drawn, stow your bow on your back and all that.
Yeah.
Okay. So as you round this corner, you would see she's maybe like somewhere between 25 and 30-year-old woman, little bonnet and like very simple kind of gray dress, that is vigorously shaking the hand. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, you know how it is. Your work is just so excellent, and we're always thankful. And there is a very ancient-looking woman, like hunched over, big beaming smile. Although she is not the prettiest, like definite signs of wear and tear on her face. Who is also shaking this. She's ancient. Like this is Granny's granny, but she is shaking this woman's hand and. Well, you know how it is, darling. Anything I can bring a little bit of joy to any of you, it just makes me feel so much better in turn. To eat up while they're fresh. You know they're not as good the second day. And the woman who had accepted a little package from this old granny hands her a coin, which very quickly disappears into like somewhere in Granny's blouse, and offers her a little bow and like scuttles back into the door, which closes. And this old lady turns and kind of slowly moves back to her cart, bends down, and you can practically hear the creak of her skeleton as she bends down to pick up the little hand cart. Did you just fully lose me, or can you hear me still?
Oh, we
No,
got
we can
you.
hear
Yep, you're all good the whole time.
Okay. One of my earbuds just died unexpectedly. We'll get that charging. Anyway, she bends down to pick up this cart, and now that you're closer and can like see, it's laden with food, all sorts of little like pies and pastries, and there's no signage or anything, but it just looks like maybe she's going door to door. And as she, okay, there we go, and kind of starts to take another step down the road, she goes, "Oh, my unfamiliar faces. Do come closer. My eyesight isn't what it used to be."
Okay. Well, Narlug doesn't feel threatened,
Yeah.
so he is going to approach, not very
Yeah.
cautiously either, as if it was any other person.
Yeah,
Fair
I'm
enough.
gonna follow through with the Narlug.
Okay. Yeah. And like I said, a very grandmotherly lady. She also has like a big bonnet on, sort of like, I don't want to say unkempt, but like unstyled hair that just kind of hangs past her shoulders. Not gray, like full on white. Um, but she's wearing this like kind of pale blue dress with a big apron over the front of it. Um, and she blinks at you with these little sunken, shrunken eyes, and oh, they are indeed unfamiliar faces. Um, well, welcome to our little slice of uh, heaven, Barovia Village. Um, oh my, she says, and she notices you first. I think Narlug. I don't think we'd have had any of your sort come through in any recent years. And you, oh my, you are an exotic one, she says to Ralmir, noticing, your horns, your red skin, the whole deal. Does he have a tail, by the way, or is he?
I don't. I didn't make him with a tail, so.
Fair enough. I was just curious.
So.
But yes. Oh, I don't think we've had any of the infernal touched in quite some time either. Oh, it's rude of me to remark upon. I'm so sorry. It is a pleasure to meet you all. You can just call me Granny. Everybody does. And she chuckles a little bit. But who might you all be?
Well, Granny, my name is Narlug, and I am quite famished. Do you have any food for sale?
Oh, plenty of food, as you can see. Um, all manner of pies, meat pies. This is a lovely root vegetable pie, and well, this one, it's a bit of a famine recipe, but my dear mother, bless may she be, used to call it a water pie. It's not actually water, but it is made from rather basic ingredients. It'll fill you up and keep you full, though.
Narlog hasn't eaten probably what feels like a whole day, so he's going to want a meat pie.
Okay.
And he looks over to
Fair.
see his party with him. How much are the meat pies?
And you'd ask her like how much.
Yeah, how much for the meat pie?
Well, you see, if it's your first time here, I have no problem letting you have one. You must be famished for from your journey. I feel like almost nobody comes to our poor little village seeming like they've had a good night's rest or a full stomach any time in the last several days. Granny's happy to part with one for no cost. But if you come back, of course, I will be asking for a little bit of coin. That's only fair. First one's free, though. And she'll just take like a little piece of like scrap sackcloth or something and take a meat pie. They're not huge or anything, but they're yay big. Look like they'd be enough for a solid meal, but it's not going to sustain you all day or anything. She'll just bundle it up for you and hand it over.
And Narlog's gonna stick it in his pocket for now.
Sure.
You
Is there
mentioned in the
anything that
last
I
few
could,
days.
Yeah,
Oh.
that.
Have there been other travelers recently through the town? Strangers that you don't recognize?
Well, you see, I don't actually live in the village, so I can't speak for all times. Even if I did, of course, there's many streets and many ways in and out. But no, I don't think we've had any visitors that are from outside of our lands in a year or more.
Hmm.
Seems like a pretty quiet town. How populated would you say it is?
Well, that depends upon how you count. I have certainly a few dozen consistent customers, and perhaps all told, maybe 50 or so souls in all of Barovia Village. Valaki is much more populous, but that's another day's trek down the road.
Okay. And which direction would that be?
Easy to find. Really, here in Barovia, there's only one or two main roads that run just about everywhere. But if you head west, and that gives you your first like actual cardinal direction, which is in fact left as far as the maps are concerned.
Okay.
Along the main road, you'll find Valaki, no problem.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the pie.
Of course, dear. Well, thank you for a fresh face and a bit of idle conversation. We don't get much of that, like I said. Is there anything I can do for the rest of you?
I'm gonna walk up to
Well,
Grant. Unless you want to go ahead and do something,
lost
Mike, go for it.
Frank. We lost
Yeah.
Frank.
Oh,
That's
Frank,
all
you want?
Frank said.
Chola.
Purple though, where the older gentleman had like a whole bunch of like gold jewelry on him.
Frank, you just reconnected. If you did not realize you were disconnected,
I
sounded like we got the last half of your thought.
oh okay.
Still on my bike, by the way.
Alrighty. Yeah. Did you notice like a younger woman and then like an older gentleman walk through recently though? The older woman or younger woman was wearing like purple. Older gentleman had like a bit of gold jewelry on him at all.
It's possible you missed what I had said in the mix as well, but she'd kind of repeat herself a little bit. No, as I said, I'm afraid there haven't been any outsiders in months, as far as I know. But I can't possibly be everywhere in Barovia Village at the same time, so they may have come through, just not across my route making my deliveries. I'm afraid. I'm sorry,
Understandable.
dear.
That's okay. It's understandable.
And she would kind of like, I think, look you up and down, Romir, and are you sure you wouldn't like something to eat? And she'll like literally pinch your cheek, and just kind of like gently and like
Better
squeeze her
make an
upper
attack
arm.
check on that.
No. Well, she'll at least attempt to do so. It looks like you could use a little bit more meat on those bones.
I blush in my red skin and I just say sure.
Very
I'll
well.
have a meat pie.
Oh, an excellent choice. If truth be told, for speaking honestly, they're my favorite.
What do you fucking do?
And similar
You
to how
know!
she did for Narlug, she'll bundle you up one in a little bit of cloth and hand one over too. But yeah, And she'll look kind of expectantly to Ayakobachi and
Uh,
Revere as well.
Yakobachi is going to go up to her and take a knee, and say, "Great huntress, Granny. Your time on this plane is a testament to your natural prowess. Please, I only ask of one thing: teach me of your ancestral water pie. I must
Oh.
know how one puts water in pie."
And she would just laugh. And it's like, she's so old that it's like almost like it's like more like crackling noise than really a laugh. But well, there's water in them just as there are in all the pies. But really, the secret is rather than filling it with just your typical meat or vegetable fillings, you bulk out all that water with just a little bit of flour, cook it down, and as it starts to lose most of that, you add just a bit more water to keep the flour from burning. And it turns into this wonderful, like, poor man's custard, I suppose you'd call it. There is a little bit of egg in there, and if I'm being perfectly honest, a little bit of magic too. You see, that's the thing. My mother, well, if anything else, she was a daft hand with spell work, and a bit of that runs in my blood too. So I've often been told my cooking is magical. I could show you, but I don't know if I'd be able to teach you how to do it properly.
I have pressing matters,
If,
but I would love to learn.
very well. Well, is that what you'd like to try first, then?
If I mean, I don't know how long lessons take. We're looking for some
Oh,
people.
no, darling. I don't have my
Oh, you mean
kitchen here with
try?
me. I
Oh,
meant to try to eat.
that makes sense. Yes, please.
um, and she would bundle it up and hand it over to you. Um, it's like a slightly shorter and wider shape than the others, but when she hands you the bag, like you'd expect her just basically saying it's nothing but flour and pastry. It does have like there's like a hint of something that's a little bit deeper in flavor than that. Like maybe it's like a hint of clove or vanilla, or every time you take a sniff, like the scent changes just a little bit. But it's got like all these hints of like delicate bakery spices to it.
Nice. Uh, as though she's not taking payment, Yakobachi will take a pocket of random druid stuff that he's been finding. Maybe it's leaves and sticks, might be some bones of maybe a dead small rodent or something. And he's been like, "Thank you for the information on Valakis or Valaki. What's the name of the town?
Valaki.
Valaki. That's very important to me. Thank you." And I'll give her my pocketed
Oh,
stuff.
of course, dear. And she'll hold out her hands for whatever you're putting in them. It says like leaves and twigs and small animal bones and stuff.
Yeah, some simple
I
druid
think
stuff.
you might expect that someone would be like, well, Ayokobachi wouldn't, but you as a player might expect that someone would be like, okay. But instead, her eyes like go wide, and she's a big beaming smile on her face. And, oh, well, you have excellent taste in things for trade. Oh, that's a beautiful mouse skull. How did you get it so clean?
Yeah, well, you know what you got to do is you got to get a really small knife. Listen, I'll tell you when we do the water lessons. It's really detailed, but it takes a lot of time.
It'll be an excellent exchange of information. You see, I don't actually live here in the village, like I said, but if you do follow the road towards Valaki, you'll find there's an old mill. It sits just off to the west as the road turns as you pass Castle Ravenloft. And, well, if you take the time to go out of your way and I happen to be home, I'd love to show you my cooking and I'd love to learn a thing or two from you as well, young man.
Perfect. Thank you. Ravenloft, I got you. Perfect.
Yes, Castle Ravenloft was the
West
place
near.
name.
Got it. I got you. Thank you. And I'll say goodbye to her
course, darling.
in some Sylvan because I can speak that now and I'm cool and I'll walk off.
Fair enough.
Oh, you hoping she's gonna dab you up if you're speaking Sylvan?
Maybe she's a homie.
Like, oh, oh, you a force druid for real, for real. Go, brother.
I got pocket stuff.
Ervir, she kind of sizes
Stuff
you
sounds like a first date, brother.
with like a theatrical chin scratch. You strike me as a root vegetable sort.
I was thinking that it might keep a little bit better.
As I said, the best the first day, but they will keep for a few. Just make sure make sure they stay out of the damp.
I mean, I would do my best. I don't want to be in the damp either, so.
And that would be a snort, in character. I'm afraid, darling, you'll find here in our lands there aren't too many places to be away from it. But, well, there's no safer place than in your stomach, is there? For a pie, not in general.
Narlug looks at Irvir's stomach.
You'd be surprised what I can keep in here.
Wonder if that seal protects it.
But yeah, she'll.
Most
If
mostly
there's no.
mail that protects it. Yeah, I'll take a root vegetable pie.
Okay, yeah, she'll bundle it up for you, and
What's
just
she
kind of
bundling
give
it
you
in?
like a little.
What's she bundling it in?
It's just like it seems like excess like sackcloth or burlap, like cut from old flour bags or something. Just
Hey,
kind of.
free burlap. I'm putting that shit in my inventory.
Yeah, why not? Like maybe square foot of it or so.
Square foot of burlap.
You can have my foot if you want. Here you go.
Hell yeah.
If you.
Wait, no. Yours is bundled up. It still got the pie in it.
Oh, that's right. I'll wait till I eat it. I'll give it to you then.
Just hang on 1 second. Why is this mod laid out so incredibly stupidly? Un momento. On the note of getting out of the damp, if you're planning to stick around, which I think you find you are, if you need any more equipment or anything, Bildrat's Mercantiles down on the south end of town. But a better place to stay off the damp for longer would be the Blood of the Vine Tavern. If you follow along this road, and she kind of gestures towards the town square, you can't possibly miss it.
We back up to the last thing you just said.
Which thing?
Before the tavern.
Bildrat's
about us being here for a while.
It's probably just a really nice place that people like to stay.
And
we
she
didn't
kind
know
of
where we were until literally 15 minutes ago.
It sounds nice.
at that moment, she kind of fidgets and actually looks a little, not shippy's the wrong word, but more like uncomfortable with answering that. But she sighs. You do seem like a nice sort, and it's better to hear it from a friendly face, I suppose. I'm afraid now that you're here, it'll be here that you stay until Lord Strahd sees fit for it to be otherwise. You'll find we get infrequent visitors, and they tend to become residents or remnants. I'm afraid there are not many folk that leave Barovia.
What about I could swear we saw some. Hold on, maybe I should slow down. The mists. That's how we got here, right? He'll look to the party, and presumably trying to go back out through them is bad. I would assume. Didn't like it when it touched me before.
Most don't, she kind of mutters under her breath.
But there's tracks on that road. Back out that way that we came. So someone's leaving. How do we do that?
Well, you'll need to make the right kind of friends. But again, even if you do, and even if some have earned the right to go and come as they please, mostly among, and she kind of, the Vistani, it is truly up to the Lord and Master whether or not you'll successfully navigate the mists.
And that is the Lord Strahd you mentioned?
Best not to say his name too loudly as an outsider. There are some he doesn't mind, and some that, well, would be best not to draw his attention.
How does he feel about Orcish and Infernal folk?
I'm not really certain. I can't say I've ever had the chance to ask him, nor would I want to. But I would hazard a guess the same he feels about most people. Not too fondly.
Then why are we here?
Hard to say, really. It seems, based on the travelers I've talked to over the years, that folk find themselves here for different reasons. Was there anything particularly noteworthy that happened before you found yourselves in our realm?
Well, that's a long story. You see, I was born on a lonely night.
How do you know it was a lonely night? Do you hear your own birth story
I was
secondhand?
told it was just me. My mom wasn't even there.
How does that work?
Well,
So the forest just spit you right up, huh?
that's how druids work. Us forest folk.
They
Yeah,
found me
true.
in the gap between a pair of tree roots.
It's called a wood
Well,
elf. A wood elf. Quite literally. But, more importantly, I'm here to find Isak.
And that's a name that she, again, eyebrows go up and she goes, that's another name I might be careful with, darling. Isaac Strahd is not a good person, at least in my experience, and most who cross paths.
Zextrani?
Yes, his name.
This is me asking you. I just
Oh
didn't.
yes, Strani.
Gotcha. I'm
Um,
taking very comprehensive notes on my second monitor.
Probably a good idea.
Yeah,
As I was saying,
we got a little player note thing to put them in.
yes.
I am taking an ass ton of notes. I want to make sure anything that I say, I have a reference to back up why I know it.
There you go.
Especially for you, at least until we get the Valakut, not a bad idea.
Yeah.
But Isak's a bad dude, I know it.
Yes, he's.
I mean, he's a bad dude, and I know it. I got you.
He's a brute of a man, and honestly, I steer entirely clear of him when possible. You'll find he's not much to look at either. Bit stomach turning, if I'm honest, and as a baker, I try to avoid things like that.
No wonder you've made it this far. Malar must look down upon you.
Well, what can
If
I
I could
say?
just
I'm a
ask,
crafty old bird. She
if I could
says,
just
turning
ask
to you,
one
Wilmer.
question though. When you said he's like stomach turning in appearance, so can you give me a little bit more detail so I know what I'm looking out for?
Hmm.
Where
Well,
would one go to avoid something like that?
yeah. I think you'll find that you and he have a lot in common, though while your features are properly symmetrical and, if I'm quite honest, young man, quite striking, he's only partially touched by the infernal. A side of his face, a portion of his neck and shoulder, and one entire arm are massive, maliciously deformed things, claws and scales, and ugh, it just shivers. I find it very upsetting.
Gotcha.
Granny, you're a gem.
And she would blush and just kind of, oh, shucks. Ah. And she would look up as like, a light drizzle kind of starts. And, you've burned through maybe an hour or two of the day, and so it's kind of like midday now. Just a moment. I'm sorry, dear. And she'll turn and like pull a tarp out from kind of under a stack of pies and kind of fasten it over the wagon so things aren't getting ruined. Like I said, you may wish to head to the Blood of the Vine. I have no doubt there are plenty of rooms available. It's not as though there are enough visitors to ever fill them. You'll at least find a warm hearth fire and friendly-ish faces.
Well, if they're friendlier than orcs, that's fine by me.
He
And
said,
rather than bring food into an establishment, Darlug's gonna sit down where he's at and eat his meat pie.
Fair enough. Just like right here, you're just gonna sit and eat.
Right in the middle of the road, just sit down and
Okay.
start eating away.
I
And-
won't leave Norlock in solidarity, so I'm going to eat with them.
Fair enough. Oh well, wow, they must smell better than even I realized. In my
Oh, they're
age,
very
my
good, Granny.
sense of
Thank you
smell
very
is going
much.
a bit. Oh,
It's been
Well.
an odd day's journey.
so much flattery. Thank you all, darlings. As I said, you'll find me at the old mill if you want another one, or often every day or every other day, depending on whether or not my old bones can take it. I wander the village and bring my wares for those who need them to enjoy them. So, if you don't mind, I do have many deliveries to make. And she'll kind of like bend to pick up the cart again. But you all enjoy.
And as Narlug's eating it,
Mhm.
can he
It is
make an
delicious,
Arcana
by the
check?
way.
Yeah, can he make an Arcana check to see if he can tell what kind of magic is in these
Interesting.
pies?
Okay.
What
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
magic does this taste like?
She did tell you they were magical.
Love. The magic of love.
A 12 is not particularly high, so I will tell you they don't just taste like they were made with love. There's definitely, to your trained arcane senses, like a hint of something deeper here.
Okay.
You're not fully able to make out like a spell or anything that might have gone into it, but that's that sort of tartness that tastes like abjuration to you, and maybe a hint of enchantment.
Well, it's good, and Narlug's just gonna keep eating it.
And yes, the meat pies are truly delicious. They're like all sorts of. It doesn't seem to be one type of meat, but like chopped and then browned and mixed in with like little tidbits of like peas and potatoes and set into this great like gravy that's kind of solidified now that it's cooled, so it doesn't fall apart when you take a bite out of it or anything. And the root vegetable pies are very, very like still, despite you can tell these were baked a while ago, but still like warm, and that really like runs into your bones. Like you feel just very bracing in this kind of shitty gray drizzle. And the water pie.
I want
Well,
to keep my pie.
oh, you're gonna okay, fair enough. From the smell, then, are you going to eat ayakobachi or no?
I'm gonna do a little dissecting, a little bit less eating, maybe opening up the pie, tasting little parts of it,
Sure.
handing it over. Like, what do you think? What do you think that is?
And like she
It's
said,
like wet
as
flour.
far as like the consistency of it, it is like obvious pie crust set around like a slightly gooey, and you would almost call it like undercooked dough that makes up a separate layer. But it has that like again, maybe it's cinnamon, maybe it's clove, maybe it's you can't really make it out, but it has like a almost slightly sweet scent to it. And it's just very well cooked on the outside, and the inside is just paler as though it had not quite set. Think kind of like a lava cake, how it's all one
Yep.
like a chocolate lava cake is one batter, the middle's just not fully cooked.
I'm gonna
So it
definitely
kind of
eat it.
oozes.
Yakobachi's definitely gonna eat it with the concept of trying to learn about it as much as he can as he consumes it. And I'll give my
Okay.
cloth to Ervir if he wants it.
Yeah,
Why not?
I'll get my my burlap sack to.
I'll do the same.
Ervir.
We have a total of
Okay,
4
you
now.
You got
Give me
4
all
feet.
that
That's
burlap
4 by
sack.
4.
That's
You almost got enough to make a
square feet,
cape.
brother. Irvir will actually hold his pie out to the group and say something along the lines of, you know, that woman back there seemed extremely grateful to have her hands on one of these. Maybe this is a decent bargaining chip if we need information from someone, or a way to make an introduction if we're leered at with eyes wary of strangers.
I have read in Human Tales that when someone moves into a neighborhood, they do like to greet them with a pie. That's not a bad idea.
You know, I did overhear, Narlug, when you walked up on that lady, she was talking how about they last about a day, so they probably taste best if we use it in the next pie cycle. I don't know when she baked it, but
Pie cycle.
I imagine it's got a time, you know.
Well, it sounds like we need to go meet more people
Let's
then.
go meet some people.
Sure.
I like the idea, though. We're much better with a pie in hand, though.
Or continue to hold it until someone takes it from him.
Fair. She had kind of gestured both to the inn, which is like kind of northwest of you, and then to the general store. So the inn is the Blood of the Vine Tavern, and the general store that she had called out was Bilddrath's Mercantile, and that's the big building that's down south.
Here, I'll take the pie from Revere, and I'll say, here, Relmer, you take the pie. I'm not good at pie introductions. Maybe if you want to do a Narlug,
Okay. Yeah, I could.
maybe you guys can combo it. He'll knock and you hand over the pie.
Is that Bilddrath? Like
Bilddrath.
a ghost pirate?
Not Bilddrath. Bilddrath.
Bilddrath.
Yeah.
W-R-A-T-H? Okay.
No,
yeah.
D-R-A. B-I-L-D-R-A-T-H.
Drath, okay.
Bilddrath.
Gotcha.
One
that's
word.
a ghost pirate name.
But yeah, which would you like to head for?
I don't need anything from any type of shop. I'm down to go to the inn. Maybe we get some more information.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does anyone need anything from the shop?
Probably
Any
more
type of shop?
crowded. Let's get a sense of where we are. Well,
Yeah.
I guess we have a sense of where we are, but where are we really? What kind of place are we in? And figure out next steps from there.
Maybe at least secure a
Maybe
room.
add a lead on Bev that way.
Oh yeah.
Or Narlug's orc friend, or the kobold. And that's probably a good first stop.
I'm down.
Fair enough. All right. So you're going to wind your way up towards the tavern?
I believe so.
Okay.
Seems like a plan.
You kind of, wander through the streets, which again they're cobbled. They're a little unevenly cobbled, but they are cobbled. And you turn sort of on this central square, and a single shaft of light thrusts illumination into the main square. Its brightness sort of looks like a solid pillar in how dense and heavy the fog has become. Above the sort of gaping, way too large doorway for such a quiet village as this, there is a sign that hangs just barely on its hinges. Looks like it's threatening to go any moment. And the sign reads, "Blood on the Vine Tavern." Granny introduced it to you as Blood of the Vine.
I think this is the place, though. Maybe her eyesight isn't so good, so.
She did say that.
What? Blood on the Vine. That's
but
right
yeah.
up my alley.
It's just sort of like a big squat building.
Wine reference? Blood on the Vine, right? Red wine?
The
With the
Or murder.
Probably not that one, but
yeah,
looking
not,
around, I could
not
be wrong.
yeah, not the it was the Willard of Wines for the that has like it has a red dragon on the
Yes, so it was the Wizard
Yep.
of Wines winery.
Wizard of Wines. Okay, yeah,
Yes, and I'm just moving
my
us
pen
back
must
to
have rounded off.
the main page because unfortunately there is no map for this inn.
Okay.
You just use the last in.
Yeah, I know it's on Strahd in a dark mode.
Oh, it's
It's a big
actually,
inn.
if you wanted it in dark mode. Here, let's just do this. This is a general neutral. We'll just put us on the parchment map.
Yeah, parchment.
Oh.
We're in a desert.
This way I can sketch it if I need to. But basically, I don't anticipate needing to draw it out or anything unless you all decide you're particularly bloodthirsty today. But I just lost my place because this Roll20 thing is kind of a pain. Hang on. Yeah, so you approach. Like I said, this is a fairly large building. It's maybe like 60 by 60. And there's kind of like a low, like sagging overhang that sort of is over the front steps that lead up and in. And you can see there's smoke rising from two different chimneys. One seems kind of on the back of the building, and then one sort of up front, like you'd think where a hearth fire might be, for people to kind of warm themselves around. And there are lit lanterns or candles or something gently illuminating the windows from inside, though there are curtains that hang down in front of almost the entirety of the windows, so that there's like a little narrow crack in each of them where the light is pouring out from. Yeah, you're just going to wander up and in, or
It is an inn, so
It's
yeah.
an inn, so
I don't
It
need
isn't-
to
yeah.
knock.
No, you do not need to knock. This is presumably a public building. It's a tavern, you know?
I think we're quite invited, and they will appreciate our business.
Pie bearers go first.
pie bears. Okay. Yeah, I guess
You are
I
the
will.
chosen one, Rami.
I'll back up the pie bearer.
But cast the pie
Okay.
into the tavern.
Okay, I will walk
Toss
in
it in there.
and just throw it through the window. Yeah, I just walk in, and while I kind of looks like I'm holding like the pie like in front of me though, it's like a offering.
Okay.
Like a
as-
sacred relic.
Yeah.
As you pass underneath the sign and get a closer look at it, by the way, you can see that it seemingly originally was blood of the vine, and the F has been like scratched over and has been turned into an N, carved into the sign. And yeah, the door opens with a bit of a creak of the hinges into a actually fairly airy common room. The ceilings are high in here, maybe like 15 feet. It's not like the liveliest place. You look around, and to your left, there's a long, low, kind of like bar top. And behind it, there is an absolute lump of a man who is just idly cleaning glasses. And as you come through the front door, he doesn't even look up at you. He just continues to clean a glass. He is maybe like 6 foot tall, broad, potato shaped, not like fit and big, just like a big lug of a guy. Face not even really in any particular expression, just kind of like you could almost imagine him just drooling. Directly in front of you, set like in a little table that's kind of away from the main common room, are two seemingly Vistani women wearing the similar, like very bright colors, similar dark hair pulled back into like simple ponytails, who are just playing a card game. And one of them kind of turns to look at you as you come in the door, and then goes back to her game with the other one. And the only other person in here, amongst the other like probably 30 places to sit, there is a young, fairly handsome, kind of sandy blonde hair swept back, very well dressed young man who sits at a table off to the side, glass of wine in hand, and little notebook out, like he's reading something from it. And hearing the creak of the door, he looks up from his glass of wine and, oh, no rivals, it would seem? Kind of an open-ended question.
Then I wave hello to him.
And he, gives you a big broad smile and kind of looks over at the two women who he has to kind of like lean to see past the row of tables, and looks over at the barkeep and rolls his eyes. Come in, come in. Please, have a seat. And there's plenty of room in his table. It's like a big, think like a 6-person big inn table, but he's the only one sitting at it, all by himself.
And then it's like I have some friends with me. Is it cool if they okay if they
Of
sit with
course.
us too?
Of course, of course, of
Yeah,
course. Plenty of
then-
chairs.
then
Pull up as many as you need.
I wave everybody in the party to follow through with me.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
we piloted.
Narlo will sit down, and before he even introduces himself, he sees that he's reading a book, and he's gonna ask him, if you don't mind me asking, what book are you reading?
Oh, well, I'm afraid it's not a particularly interesting one. He'll turn it around, and it's like literally like an inventory log. I'm responsible for a lot of the, budgeting and planning and basically logistics for Barovia Village. Excuse me, it's so unusual to have new faces. He would stand up offer you like an extremely formal, swept bow. It is a pleasure to make all of your acquaintances. I am Ismark, the Lesser, he says, kind of eye rolling at the last bit of that. Ismark, the Lesser. And unfortunately, I find myself in the position of being the Burgomaster of Barovia Village. And for those of you that don't know ancient Hungarian names for mayor, that's what he is saying he is. He is the mayor of this small town.
Well, if you know your Rasputin lore, maybe you should look into that.
I'm rusty on my Rasputin lore.
Well, we are no rivals, and I'll pull out my dagger, but we can definitely be pivals, and I'll cut the pie, I'll put him a slice, and I'll serve it to him.
He would laugh, but as you like go to give him a piece, I thank you for the offer, but and he'll kind of like, you can see he like almost reaches for it and kind of fidgets, and I find that Morganta's pies disagree with me. Thank you, though.
And into the notes you go.
Oh well,
you
we
say
got
about
these.
pies?
We got these from Granny, so they're delicious.
So they disagree with him.
Yes, he said they disagree with him.
What was her name?
Morgantha, spelled just like the champion from League Morgana, except with a
Yeah.
TH before the final A.
I'll sit down and eat it.
Yes, please don't let my distaste for them stop you. Enjoy. I'm sure your journey here has been at least slightly fraught. I don't think I've ever met anybody from beyond the mists that made an easy trip of it.
I suppose it
Well,
wasn't that easy.
It was easy in the
probably
sense
could've
that we
been
didn't have to
worse.
do anything. But very confusing.
So
Yes, common threads, I'm afraid. And you would see he kind of, takes a sip of his wine and takes a little like handkerchief and dabs off any potential. It's like he's got obnoxiously proper manners for how like kind of shitty and run down this place is. But yes, if you'd like some questions answered, he says, dropping his voice a little bit, I'd be happy to do so, though I'm not certain this is the place for it. If you need drink and food, please partake of what you need. And if you're willing to hear me out, I'd be happy to cover whatever the bill may be. The village's coffers do overflow at the moment, but I'm afraid you never know who and what may be listening. And I find that the Burgomaster's Manor is a much more comfortable place for such a conversation.
Before we answer that, did you guys turn off your webcams? I hit reconnect. I don't see Zachy or Dave.
I don't see you, and I don't see Zach.
Which is weird because I see Zach and me.
Yeah, I can see
It
Mike.
says
What about
because
now?
on my screen it says both of you are whispering.
Oh, did I accidentally whisper you?
Oh no, I was gonna whisper you and then I DM'd you instead. So maybe it actually thinks
So
that we're
toggle
in a
the.
private.
That's exactly what it is. It's above your portrait, or maybe above my portrait. There would be two.
What's the point
it
of
looks like
whispering if it's gonna tell us?
interlinked.
Yeah, that's a good
I
point.
Because you can't hear it
Exit
normally.
whisper, I think. Yeah, exit whisper. Okay.
Okay,
No,
I see you both.
I
now.
didn't even notice because it was on your portrait. I'm used to whispering a player, and then I can see that it's happening because everybody in our group uses cams for the other. Also, I'm sure he has a handout. Hang on. Here you go. Meet Ismark.
Yeah, but the jawline like that, how do you get to be the lesson, bro?
Yeah, he's
I
got
want to
like
meet Ismark the Moorer. If
got
he's
like
the
the Bruce
legend.
Look at this
Campbell
Gaston
chin.
looking ass
Mower.
motherfucker over here.
Prison chin, baby.
Oh, what keeps ledgers like Gaston, weeps in the abyss like Gaston.
Oh wait, should I do if it's like Gaston though? I should probably do an insight roll.
Gaston, how much, besides being a little misogynist, like
He was just trying to hunt for his
a
town
beast-
to feed his
a beast
townspeople.
kidnapped a woman, bro. Like, was Genocide really in the wrong on that one? Then she's going hysterical, like, no, I love the beast. It's totally cool. I love being here with the talking teacup. It's like, all right, lady, we gotta keep
This
it
woman
honest.
who wants to read is crazy.
That's right. How dare you try
How
to
dare
act-
she learn to read?
Yeah, for girls. Would you like to insight him, Romeo? He seems pretty open and affable, but
well,
with no
I
harm in
mean,
guessing.
well, the one thing though, like kind of like putting us to like the small like quiet manor though, so it's like I didn't know if like he wants to like send us there for he actually wants to give us actual information or there's like some sort of ulterior motive too. So
Sure.
I'll
Yeah,
do
go and
it.
roll it.
I'll do an insight roll for that, just to be on the safe side. Come on, roll 20. You could do it.
Oh wow,
You sure did.
you are so consistent. As far as you can tell, like his outward facing appearance is very like I said, open and affable and very friendly. There is a second layer that he's like trying to hide, but it doesn't seem to you like he's like got any nefarious needs or anything. He seems nervous. Like when he said this might not be the place for that conversation, like you can see him double check the two Vistani sitting in the corner. You can see him look at the person at the bar who is still just slack-jawed, cleaning the same glass for like minutes now in the same circle, like almost like robotically the same thing over and over and over. He does seem legitimately concerned that someone could be listening in.
That's fun. Yeah, I just figure never can be too careful.
Absolutely, and feel free anytime you're just like, yeah, I want an insight on this guy. Just let me know. I'm happy to handle that with a roll.
Well, Narlog did hear drinks on his tab,
Yeah.
so he's gonna ask for a drink.
Okay. Just tell Eric what you need. He's not the best at conversation. He's
That's
one of
fine,
the
neither am
empty
I.
sort.
And Narlog will go over to the bar. Does anybody else want one while I'm walking over?
I feel like I'm. Yeah, sure. If other people are having one, I'll have one too.
That could be peer pressure.
Do they have beer? They have
Yeah.
like peanuts?
I will ask for peanuts.
Thank you.
Fair enough. So yeah, you kind of walk over to the bar, and like I said, he said his name was Arik, Arik. At least Ismark did. And Eric does not even acknowledge your presence until you are standing right in front of him and talking to him. Same thing.
Hello, Eric. Seem to be doing a pretty good job cleaning that cup.
He just stares at you kind of blankly.
Do you mind if I take that cup and you fill it with some of your beer back there? And I would also need 3 other glasses of the same.
He says, just like a grunt and an upward nod, and he sets the mug down. And he reaches under the bar slowly, and he grabs another one, sets it down. 3, 4, and he goes to the first one, and he picks it up again, and he turns, and he opens the tap. 1. You get the idea. Super
Yeah.
slow, no conversation.
You know, you'd fit in at my village. I got plenty of people like you.
And there's, as you say that, I think, although they have not spoken like at a room volume yet, one of the two Vistani women in the corner will speak up and, oh, darling, I don't think you'll find any like him outside the mists. He's, well, he's not all there. And she'll chuckle.
Well, he's doing a pretty
Ismark
good job.
Empty, too, which was a weird word to call somebody.
Called him what?
Empty.
Empty. Okay. Well, I got you, Eric. Do you happen to have a bag of peanuts?
What?
You know, the little brown, salty things.
He crouches down under the bar, and he comes up with like a little bowl of like roast chestnuts.
Close
Just-
enough. You mind if I take these? Bam. And Narlug, sensing that his conversation is going to be as dull as Narlug's, is going to grab the mugs and chestnuts and go back to the table.
You got big hands, it's like 3 mugs in one fist and one with the bowl balancing on the other,
Yeah.
just back across the room. And the other Vistani. Oh, you're such a charming conversationalist, Eric. Good job, lad. And he just literally goes back to the motion of polishing a mug with no mug in his hand.
Right, because I have said mug. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And Narlug's going to hand out the mugs and give Ikabachi the bowl of chestnuts. I know they weren't peanuts, but a nut's a nut.
You're not wrong about that, and I'm going to wild shape into
Words
a.
to live by, brother. Words to live by.
Nut's a nut.
I'm gonna be like, hey, a nut's a nut, and I'm gonna wild shape into a chipmunk, and I am gonna start
Really?
eating the nuts like a chipmunk, just jamming them in my mouth as many as I can.
Ismark, as you wild shape, will like jump back from the table, like startled, and I'm sorry. Yes, just wasn't expecting that. Forgive me. And he will like really awkwardly like find his seat again, plot a little bit of wine that he spilled on himself with that handkerchief folded up and back into the breast pocket. Well, as you may have noticed, things move rather slowly around here. And I don't just mean the folk. He says, gesturing vaguely to Eric, and you can see there's like a look of pity in his eyes as he looks at the bartender. But please do enjoy your drink. Have a bit of a snack. It's plenty warm in here, and I do think the weather is turning a bit, so the walk to the manor might be a bit soggy. Better to bolster your constitution while you have the chance.
Say no more. Did we lose Zach?
Yeah, I'm good. I can hear you. I think it was just acting up.
Roll 20. But yes, well, it's probably best not to discuss specifics quite yet. Allow me to say my condolences. Welcome to Barovia. As I have no doubt you've already noticed, it's a rather grey and... But one moment. Can you hear me again or no?
Oh, yeah,
Yep.
there we go.
Yep.
There we go. It's a rather grey and gloomy place, but, well, some of us that have the capacity to do so have certainly managed to make a life for ourselves here. It has its charms in the right season, at the right moment. But yes, I'm sure for strapping young fellows such as yourselves will be welcome in these lands, especially if you take the time to do good. We have plenty of ill to go around. A bit of positivity would offset that wonderfully.
Great. That's exactly what I was
on,
waiting to
brother, right
hear.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
I know I keep bringing up my village, but my village could definitely use some positivity. Bunch of angry folk back there.
Well, I mean, can you blame them? Especially, well, when one once knew the taste of freedom, he says, kind of like raising his volume a little bit so that the women can hear him, and yet find themselves ousted from such easy access in and out. And the two of them, one of them just spits on the floor and goes back to her card game, and the other one gives him like a particularly rude gesture. And he just like, back at her and turns back to the table.
Irvir will say kind of audibly to Bismarck or to Ismark, but also so that the Vistani women can hear it. Yeah, kind of a dick move. We saved that guy from an orc attacking him, and we just got caught up in collateral damage. Kind of weird.
So I'm afraid I haven't the. I was going to say I haven't the foggiest. I haven't any idea what you're speaking about, actually. And the two of them over there just kind of give you the side eye, but don't seem to quite connect the dots either. I assume you were trying to drop like what that other Vistani did was the implication there.
Yeah, like we know that everyone knows, and we're in the know. But also, what the fuck? We helped you out, brother.
Mm-hmm. Oh wait, you're talking about helping out the caravan?
Yeah, when we were at the
yeah,
stove, and we
punched. I see.
Yeah.
Yes.
we broke that shit up. He's like, you know what? You're going though too. What an ass.
But yeah, unfortunately, all three of them just seem kind of confused, and Eric is still cleaning thin air.
Good job, Eric.
And he just kind of sighs again, looking over at him. It's you seem like a plenty charming fellow, he says to you, Narlug. Don't take it personally. As so many are in these lands, he was born incomplete. I'm afraid no one's ever been able to get much out of him, conversationally or otherwise.
Well, he does his job well enough.
That he does.
At least he's getting by.
And that's unfortunately most of what the empty ones are suited for. Manual labor, simple tasks. These are things they can learn and they can follow. But there's no spark within them. No
Empty
joy,
ones
no
plural.
curiosity.
Empty ones plural.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did say, as so many are born here in these lands. Yes.
Saying it for emphasis.
A blight upon Barovia. I'm not certain what causes it, but perhaps 2 or 3 in 10 births are like his.
Must be something in the water.
Mist is a water.
It is. Does that catch Irvir's intrigue?
I don't know. It does, but I don't know because I know.
Yeah.
Mike knows, but I don't know if I have enough to ask the correct leading questions yet.
I don't think you have enough to ask the questions, but I do think you have enough for a religion roll.
All right. Is that still int? Fucking dumbass game. It sure is.
It's something you would study.
Are you proficient in religion? Because I am.
I am.
Actually, I think it applies to you as well, Rolmir. I think, given your faith, this might be something you would know.
Yeah, that would be super relevant.
Yeah. Damn.
Religion too.
Frank with the rolls.
He's got the rolls.
Oh yeah.
I don't think he'd get the sense of it like you might have, Irvir, if you'd hit the roll. I'm afraid that's not high enough. But to you, Rolmir, this sounds like what can happen in the event that a soul is detached from the body and the body doesn't die. There's no spark of joy or spark of life. The meat just keeps on going on its own. Not undead.
I was going to
but
say out of
empty.
character. That sounds awfully close to undead.
Mm-mm.
There he is.
Irving will look curious, but
Yeah.
he'll appear like he's trying to mull it over, but not really coming up with anything.
Again,
Because it does grab his attention.
once you've finished your drinks and we're in safer environments, I'd love to elaborate. Not to put too much emphasis on it, of course. Not unsafe here is that someone's going to walk up and stab you in the back for the goods you're carrying. Simply, the walls may have ears that would be better not to hear what we need to discuss.
I nod to him so that I understand it.
When he says the stab you in the back and take your belongings, at that moment you see Tiny Chipmunk Akabachi kind of scatter together his like loose nuts that have kind of gotten away from him, and he's just like his cheeks are just completely filled.
I love it.
So are you like completely sated as a chipmunk, but then as soon as you shift back, you're starving again?
He just does like one of these, like.
He can't actually speak while he's wild shaped unless he's in a form that can. So, but
speak to animals.
Then he could speak.
I don't know.
But like, for example, ravens can speak common. So if you turn into a raven, you can speak.
Forevermore. Oh!
And just
it's nevermore, Zach.
Not in this world. It's forevermore. No, I can't. It's copyright infringement. I'm streaming.
The party. Whenever you guys are ready, I think we should hear him out.
Yeah.
I'll follow along in my chipmunk
Narlo
form.
will slam his drink and yeah, he's ready.
Fair enough. He will. God damn it! I accidentally hit back at roll 20, not thinking that wasn't just going to go back on my reference note page. He will, as you're kind of like finishing up your drinks, head over to the bar, and you see that he, as he stands up, pulls a couple coins from a little coin purse. And while they're similar to what you would expect, it's a couple copper and a silver piece. They're like a familiar shape. I believe coppers are kind of like a triangular coin and silvers are square. But unlike the face that you might expect minted on one side, go ahead and give me perception rolls. Damn.
Not skirt?
Narlug sees the bottom of his mug as he tips it all away.
Yep.
Like, same
Gotta
goes
keep it
Romir
consistent.
and
Gotta keep it
Akabachi.
consistent.
Ervir, you spot that the face on the coin looks very similar to one of the heads from the statues, though it looks much more gaunt and drawn. Under the cheekbones is more sunken in, and the eyes have almost like an angry, glaring stare to them, rather than the more like noble and valorous, face that had been carved on these statues out front. But it looks like one of them for sure.
How did Faerun come to have a common treasury system?
Actually, that goes way the fuck back to before.
I figured, but it's like, oh, this is the Bank of Waterdeep or some shit. Like, yeah, we just all agreed that this is how it's going to be, and the kingdoms hate each other, but fuck them, they still need to trade.
Yep.
So each of the individual kingdoms does like have their own central bank, but it was agreed upon that yes, approximately this weight of copper, approximately this weight of silver, approximately this weight of gold is minted into a coin, and those can be exchanged at banks in neighboring countries because they are made just of that metal. So gold is worth the gold no matter where it goes.
Gotcha. Okay, so
they're not alloys.
Different like prints on each kingdom's individual gold, but it is still a weight of gold.
Exactly.
Whoever mints it, I think, is the one who marks it with their stuff.
Correct.
Yeah. So if you get, I don't know
even like
that much, but like a coin from Waterdeep might look different than a coin from Ormath.
Absolutely. In fact, almost certainly does. But in a big city like Waterdeep or Neverwinter or Baldur's Gate, when you get change from a merchant, you might get coins from 5 different kingdoms because they all spend the same. So people freely will exchange them. You don't have to like go to a teller and have them swapped out for local coin. You just, a copper is a copper is a copper.
Herbie will probably point that out, though. That is an interesting fact. Oh, this Barovia must be pretty big then if you have your own mint.
Well,
It'll pull out probably one of his own coin pieces and kind of roll it between his fingers to flash whatever print he's acquired in his travel.
he would, may I, if you don't mind, just, and he'll take a look and, the coinage looks different than the last I'd seen. I wouldn't say large, but once, many years past, before the mists separated the core into all of the separate domains of dread, yes, and you can see he starts to say Lord and catches himself. The beast was a great warlord and did have a war chest minted in his image. Those are the coins you find in circulation in Barovia today.
Can you repeat the thing out of character?
Yes, out of character.
Because that was a big name drop. I was like, hold on.
Yes, but to him, it's just the fact of life.
Yeah.
He doesn't realize it's a big name. Capital T, capital C, the core was separated into the domains of dread by the mists. And those are all proper nouns.
Sick.
If I'm not mistaken, that coinage, Faerunian, yes?
Good eye. Absolutely correct. I'm not, I don't know. I'd point out whichever make it was from. I might know. But oh yeah, city over in such and such geographic location.
Sure. It's interesting. It seems to be a common thread across most different claims. Yeah, we find copper, silver, and gold as far as coins go, though electrum and platinum do seem to be rarer.
I was gonna say that I pulled out a fucking electrum coin because I was like, I don't have a reason to ever bring up that denomination.
Fair enough. Do you have 10 spare gold to have an electrum?
I have 15 gold.
Okay.
I don't think it matters what denominations are. I just saw that was on there. It's like, all right, that's electrum. I don't know what's ever said
Nobody uses that.
But I remember that it's a thing.
EP are definitely the least common coin, and they don't exist in Greyhawk, which is the setting that I, for lack of a better term, grew up with, so I often forget about them. But yes, I think you are all aware enough of the Cosmere of the universe that the way he's talking sounds like you're not in Faerun anymore.
Yeah, and especially a role for Frank or something. Like, that should be a big deal for Ralmir.
Go ahead and give me...
That's Raven Queen shit.
Yeah, I think religion probably.
Religion.
Narlag, you can give me Arcana too.
Arcana?
Yeah.
Oh. Oh, that too.
I'd say Irvir's probably not
We're hot tonight.
on Raven Queen to know.
Oh, also not particularly great, I'm afraid. Irvir, I mean, you're not like unaware of planar stuff.
Let's give it a religion roll and see if because it would only be, I think, the only way he relates it is Raven Queen.
Yeah.
I don't know if he knows general Cosmere shit enough. I clicked it.
Yeah, that strikes me more as arcane than divine, to be perfectly honest. They tend to be the ones that are punching holes to new places. I think, again...
If you think it's worth it.
Are you trained in Arcana?
No.
You can try it.
No proficiency in it.
You can try it.
And I have no
I think what you do get though is like none of you miss that he's the way he's talking. It sounds like you're on a different plane entirely. Like, you are no longer on the Faerunian prime material plane. You are somewhere else entirely.
Yeah. So we know that, we aren't that familiar with the domains of dread.
Right. You wouldn't know the domains of dread, and you wouldn't know the core. For you players, the core is actually the word for this world. That's like saying Faerun. The core is the
That's Kryn.
full
I
planet.
got you. That's a sick quote. I like it.
But yeah, he will settle up the tab with Eric, and as he goes out the door, kind of leading you all out into the street. Hopefully these ones don't break so easily, darling, one of the Vistani calls after him. And he just goes and turns. You two and your sister are lucky that you have the deed to this place. Because if I had my say, I would drive you out of town just like you were driven away from the Tserpool encampment. I don't want you here. Nobody wants you here. And you're not funny. And just like in a pompous little huff, he turns on a heel and strides out into the street. And that is TSER Pool Encampment. Sorry. Not nice of me to lose my temper like that. Please do follow this way.
Honestly, they had a comment. They're all such dicks.
A lot of them are. Though I will admit, Madam Eva and the rest of the Tserpool are fairly joyous folk. It sort of really depends on the band that one travels with when it comes to Vistani. And a few of them are closer to, and he drops his voice, the beast, than others. But yeah, he will just kind of lead you at a good clip through the street. Like he's hurrying, but not running, if that makes any sense. And you see him like every time you come to an intersection, like kind of slow a little bit, check, and then we'll move on. And like anytime there's an open door with darkness, just all you can see in the building, he makes a point to like move to the other side of the street. He said you're not going to get stabbed in the back here, but he is acting like this is a fucking war zone with how like purposeful he is in where he's going, how he's moving, where he's leading you. And as you're moving through town, you can hear off in the distance there is just a single female voice that is just like full on sobbing, wailing, shut up in a house somewhere a block or two over, and just constant crying and at a deafening volume. And he just another of our fine residents, Mad Mary. I hate to sound callous, for now pay her no mind. She gets like that fairly often. We're almost there, just up the hill here, and the road will jog and wind its way up, like kind of a steep incline to this little squat building that kind of sits up on the hill. Yes, you do be, and it's Barovia, by the way.
Barovia?
B-A-R-O. Yeah.
Well, let me edit that. Good old edit.
And his place is like top right corner of the map, that blue building, the long pathway.
Yes.
Got it.
And as you approach, a weary-looking mansion squats behind a rusting iron fence. The iron gates are twisted and torn. The right gate lies fully cast aside, while the left swings lazily in the wind. The stuttering squeal and clang of the gate repeats with mindless precision. Weeds choke the grounds and press with menace upon the house itself. Yet, against the walls, the growth has been tramped down to create a path all about the domain. Heavy claw markings have stripped off the once beautiful finish of the walls. Great black marks tell of the fires that have assailed the mansion. Not a pane nor a shard of glass stands left in any window. All of the windows are barred with planks, each one marked with stains of ill omen. Home, sweet home. And he will step over the wreckage of that right-hand gate and lead you through the overgrown path in the yard to the front door, where he reaches into a pocket and produces a very heavy set of iron keys and has no less than 3 locks that he has to turn in the front door before it swings open on its hinges and allows you in.
Have some problems with your neighbors?
Oh, you have no idea. Who is anybody lower than a passive perception of 11?
I am not. I'm at 11.
Okay. And I know Frank is at 11, and then the other two are 15. It's clear with how much like undergrowth there is here that can be trampled down and like leave obvious marks. There are all sorts of like booted footprints here, but a lot of them are in sets that seem like, you know, you don't see feet going in the same direction. You see like one foot moving normally and one like turned at a horrible, like almost backwards angle. And lots of what look to be very large wolves or like a small bear, something. That's presumably what made these scratching marks all over the outside. Um, Suffice to say that my dear sister and I are often beset by visitors from the castle, from the woods, sometimes seemingly from hell itself. But they cannot cross the boundaries of the walls without invitation. Uh, and saying that, he pushes open the door and heads inside, but does not say anything to all of you.
So we follow him to make a point.
Okay, you're following through. Everybody just gonna walk in behind him?
Nuts in hand.
Okay. And as you all do, without invitation or anything beyond just him going inside, you can see he like, excellent. I think you can all understand why I wouldn't make mention directly of that as a test, but that does make me feel better. Please do sit. And you can see the interior of the mansion is very well furnished. The fixtures all show signs of like age and wear, but aside from the noticeable oddities of like the boarded up windows and there are holy symbols like all over the walls, there's just a kind of a quiet drawing room right here by the front door, unfortunately currently occupied by a coffin sitting on the coffee table. A little like kind of parlor area that opens into a kitchen and then a dining room. But the chairs and couches are velvet and reasonably well maintained, and there's a number of little candles and lanterns lit around the room. While it is old and definitely dusty in here, and there is a coffin sitting in the entryway functionally, this feels much warmer and brighter than it did down in the village. The outside's real scary, and while there's some oddities in here as well, it's a much calmer atmosphere than elsewhere.
Well, the coffin kind of caught my attention though, so I was gonna ask him about it.
Ah, I'm afraid that is my dearly departed father. Just past 2 nights ago, I'm afraid. I was awaiting Irina's return, my sister, so that the two of us could carry him to the churchyard for him to be laid to rest. Um, he was an honorable man who served the village well for nigh on 30 years. Hopefully, I will be able to fill his boots.
Yeah, well, sorry to hear about that.
I'm sorry for your loss, but he will be met by the great guide, who is both just and merciful. Know that if you are all so miserable here, he has a much better place awaiting him.
And there's kind of like you know, he looks down at the floor, but there's kind of like a little sad smile on his face. And I'm certain that you're right. He was a just man, and I can only imagine that any afterlife that awaits him is better than this dreary place. Thank you for your kind words. And like, almost as though it's just now hitting him, he sees like the symbol on the front of your chest on the chain and everything. You must be a man of a man of the cloth, then, though not of a deity I recognize.
I am a formal Mortarch of the Clergy of the Dead, worshippers of Kelmvor, the Great Guide.
The phrasing "clergy of the dead" gets like a. I see.
Kelmvor is the greeter of the dead. He believes in the natural cycle of both life and death. That death is not a tragedy; it is merely the next step of your journey. It is a part of all life, and you should not fear death. If you fear death, you let the people who can inflict it upon you, you give them power over you. Instead, we must accept it and know that it's just another leg.
You can see him thinking on that for a moment.
No reason to seek death. It'll come eventually. Everyone's does. And of course, the undead to that are the biggest of affronts to that natural order.
Well, it would certainly seem as though fate has driven you here. I meant no offense, but my reaction there, as you may be unsurprised to hear, the undead are a blight upon these lands, and you can understand my concern, I'm sure. But please, do sit. I will get the fire going, and we can have a proper chat about some of this information I have no doubt you are desperately seeking. And perhaps a pot of tea as well. And he will busy himself, and kind of in and out of the room, but you guys have a moment to talk amongst yourselves quietly and unobservedly, if you would like, while he goes to do all of that.
Yakobachi is going to climb up on the coffin and take a mouse nut and place it there and bow his little chipmunk head. And then he will go back to what he was
He's
doing.
been a chipmunk this whole time.
He's been a chipmunk for the last. He's a chipmunk for 1 hour, so.
He's probably riding on somebody's shoulder, right? Like at this point, like that's a far way to walk for a chipmunk.
He's got 40 feet of movement with that long strider, so he's a fast chipmunk.
Yeah, he's
that is a very fast chipmunk.
He's fast. It's just a lot of work, man.
And he's carrying nuts.
Right, this dude's two.
Because imagine, you know how he was describing like the guy sneaking through town. I imagine myself doing the same thing, but for like watching out for cats. You know what I'm saying? Like a dog. Like just like hiding in the shadows. But Yakobachi's not doing anything. Eventually, I guess I'm sure it took us about an hour to get over here, give or take.
No, it's not that long of a walk. Maybe 20 minutes.
Well, then I'll just sit there and I'll put my chipmunk head down.
Yeah, and actually probably more like 10 at the pace that he would have wanted to move. Like at a leisurely stroll, it's probably 20 minutes, but at like a proper combat speed movement, it's closer to a 10-minute walk. You're heading over to the coffin, you said, Irvir?
Yep. Yeah. Irvir will hold the pendant in one of his hands, clutching it fairly tightly, and fairly subaudibly start murmuring some prayers.
Sure.
Not really for anyone in particular, but more for just the sake of doing it.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, as you kind of observe this is a very simple, like this is a pine box, basically. There's not a lot of extravagant decoration or anything. And it is surrounded by very basic like bouquets of flowers, but they strike you more as like wild flowers than anything anybody grew with any purpose for beauty or whatever. But the very faint
and a nut
floral scent that they kind of put off sort of covers the scent of decay. Not a fresh body, but
is there any like type of like religious symbols like on the coffin at all?
Yes, although I'm not certain whether or not you would recognize them. What is carved? It's carved into it. It's not like a metal inlay. It's not even a wooden idol. It's like somebody literally took a knife and scratched into the surface of it. It is I believe it's a 12-pointed star. And underneath it is a curve that you would guess especially Ralmir and Erebir, who are familiar with like some basic symbology and like general meaning as far as religious, representation goes, seems to you to represent the rising sun.
I think we would be like, oh, this is like Lethander, but that's not.
Right. That's actually a perfect way to explain it. This is a sun god, but not one from Faerun that you're familiar with. And as you kind of look around the room, I think in here you probably would spot on a bookshelf, there would be several, like, I guess what you would call more personal books, and among them is a book that reads or looks to you more like a prayer book, like it's gilded and has like a very fine but very worn spine. And the title is The Chronicles of the Morning Lord. To put a name to the symbol, that's probably your best bet.
Well, Narlog,
There's
noticing the
also
bookshelf, is gonna go check
Yeah,
it out and see if any of the
absolutely.
books catches interest. Something like maybe the history of where we're at, or
Mhm.
anything along those sorts.
Yeah, there would be a number of things like that. It'd be tough for me to pull like detailed lore off the top of my head on all of this
Mm.
sort of side stuff, but you would certainly be able to find like a family lineage of the Burgomasters here in Barovia Village. You would probably be able to find like a historical almanac tracking like the seasons and the vague weather they're in, which is just fog, 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 heavy fog, 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 fog. But kind of like, chronicling how cold it's been in the winters and was the harvest good. And a lot of these books go back like probably 300 or so years, um, in terms of like the dates that you find at the start of this almanac is about 300 years ago. And it's all like super tiny, cramped text. And while the first pass of the book is like uh, printing press, like printed text, it seems like somebody has gone back and to conserve the high quality paper and the good book bindings has handwritten a second book over each of these in the margins between lines that seems to be a continuation of the end of the printed text.
Hmm.
So they've been here for a very long time.
Okay. And do the books tend to stop at a certain point, like that is the same for them?
So like I said, about 300 years ago, you don't see anything older than that. And everything kind of, as far as like print goes, seems to be no newer than about 100 years ago.
Okay.
Everything after that would be handwritten.
Okay. Well, that's what Narlog's gonna do while we're waiting. He's just gonna grab one of them
Sure.
books and kind of flip
Um,
through it.
are you looking for any specific kind of information? Because that's the kind of thing I might be able to pull off the top of my head, but I can't just like, as good as I often am, I don't know if I can improv a full bookshelf or just like read a
Maybe
passage
anything
out to you.
regarding the histories of the type of people that were here.
Sure. Actually, I think that would be pretty easy to find. I think there would be a book in particular that chronicles the conquests of Strahd von Zarevich.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely interesting 'cause we've heard that name before.
Yes. Um, and you see a number of things sort of called out about him. He is the son of King Barov, which kind of sounds like Barovia. Seems like potentially a origin of the name of this kingdom. Um, he was known as a particularly bloody leader, like ruthless conqueror, extremely skilled in battle. Um, and he and his brother led a conquest across the core and drove everyone who was an enemy of their kingdom to the edge of the map to get away from them. And from what you see, the origin of this area, Barovia, was the end of his conquest. Literally, the last of the enemies for them to kill were cornered here, and upon their graves he declared this land in the name of his father, the lands of Barovia, and laid down roots here. What was left of his family came here with him. You also see, I'll type them out for you so you don't have to get the spellings right, but there's mention of a queen, Ravanovia. There is mention of a brother of his, Sergei, and there was mention of a lover, first of his brother, and then upon his brother's death, of Strahd's, named Tatiana.
Tatiana.
So that is, I'll type them for you. Oops. And again, his full name is Strahd von Koch.
Oh yeah, I nailed all those spellings. Guys got to read Crime and Punishment.
See, when you ask me about the right kind of history, I know it. But just like general, what happened in the valley, I don't know. It's 300 years. What do you want to know? But yes, that gives you a little bit better idea of where you are and what you're dealing with here. And also probably a pretty good idea of whose face is on those coins and who the statues are.
Nice. Well, I'm glad I read the book.
Mm-hmm.
Arlog is enjoying himself. This is probably the happiest he's been on this entire trip.
Then after that, though, you said there was a prayer book too.
Yes, so there is, like I said, it is the Chronicle of the Morning Lord, which seems to be like a creation myth and prayer book to this deity. Like Irvir had said, bears a lot of similarity to the worship you'd see for Lathander. Lots of like reverence of fire, lots of symbols of the sun. People pray to him at dawn. He's believed to be a very like loving protector of anybody who his light falls upon. And if you're specifically looking for any other like religious reference here, there is not another like full prayer book, but actually tucked into the book next to this, it's like a little kind of like crummier quality paper. It's not super high quality vellum or anything, but there is a little leaflet, and at the top of it, you can see hymns of, and then it's like wedged in the book, so I assume that would catch your attention. And you pull this out, and it is like you would hand out to the congregation to have them follow along. It is 2 hymns to a deity that seems to be referred to as Mother Night. N-I, not K-N-I, so like evening. And whereas the Morning Lord is sort of referred to as like a protector and an uplifter, you get the feeling from the words to these 2 hymns that are on this paper, they speak of sorrow and loss, and the dark times that must be weathered for the dawn to come again, like almost a paired deity to the Morning Lord. Oh, and I should also give you
I'm just going to assume that those hymns were probably something that they were going to go over when they take the father to the church. I would
seems
presume.
like that's possible. Yeah. Although you're not 100% sure as you kind of study it. Like it strikes you that it could very much depend on your what's the word I want? Whether or not you are seeking like a positivity in burial service. So, like how Erger was saying, death is a transformation, it's not the end. That's like kind of an uplifting view. This is sadness at the loss of a loved one, is kind of the vibe you get from Mother Night, rather than it's not a welcoming thing. It is a almost as though these prayers seem like they're begging for her not to visit. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Or Mother Night?
Yes. Like, we revere you from afar so that you may not visit your presence upon us.
I thought he was asking about Morning Wood. That's why.
Oh, the Morning Lord. Sorry, because he said
I could be wrong, though.
Yeah, which were you curious about? The Morning Lord or Mother Night?
Mainly like what you were going about, like with the Mother Night too.
Yeah, so that seems. Let me put it simply. The Morning Lord is a deity you would pray to in hope. The vibe you get from Mother Night is one you would pray for her to stay away in fear.
Okay.
But as far as religious iconography goes, those seem to be the two that you can find represented on this bookshelf. And the Morning Lord, again, the Chronicle of the Morning Lord was like displayed with the spine legible. This other thing was wedged into like literally just another book of facts and figures about the finances of the village and like, a list of residents, basically. Not hidden, but not in a prominent displayed spot.
I wouldn't think a lot of stuff would be hidden just for how hard up the place is too. So
Right, exactly. That's fair.
Do we see a family name anywhere?
As far as like him and
Certainly.
he did mention Irina. So they are actually different because of
father,
the
too.
way. Yes. 1 second. So what you see is Ismark Kolyanovich, which is spelled like this. And then because male and female surnames are different, it's Irina Kolyana, like that. And you see that his father was also named Ismark Kolyanovich. Thus, he is Ismark the Lesser. He is the younger Ismark. And that would be easy to find in any of these almanacs talking about the residents of the village. And you can see that the Kolyanovich name goes back generations. They have been the burgomasters here for a very long time.
Gotcha.
After we're done praying for a little bit, Chipmunk Yakobachi will start to make his way off the coffin and maybe spend some time looking through some of those slits of some of those wooden, maybe just keeping an eye out for whatever it is that's supposed to be coming here and putting giant gashes
Sure.
in doors.
As mentioned, it had started to rain when the day had kind of turned to midday. The morning gave way to a light drizzle, which has now kind of become a proper, steady, light rain. And as you're kind of watching out the doors, and Ismark comes back, he's got literally like a little kettle that has obviously been boiled over the fire, and he's got like a little plate that has basically a loaf of bread, some cured sausage, some hard cheese, like very basic staple food that could be just grabbed and brought out for guests. You're watching out the window, Ayakobachi, and you see a figure running up the street towards the manor. Seems to be a person, hood pulled up over the head, long sword held out at their side as they run, like in a ready position where they could bring it up to be prepared to fight at any moment, not in a sheath. And they are like at a full sprint heading for the manor. And as they come up over the top of the sort of crest there, and make it almost all the way into the yard, you can see that they are being pursued by a pack of wolves. And they run up into the yard, and you can hear a female voice yelling out, Ismark, the wards. And you can see he just goes, shit, and like sets everything down and runs to the door, unlocks the 3 different locks. And as like this person literally shoulders her way into the room and throws her back fully against the door to hold it in place as he quickly redoes the latches, and you can see he touches a holy symbol above the door, and there's a faint like pulse that kind of goes through the room, and there's a slam, 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 slam as several of these wolves like bodily ram into the door, and she pants, catching her breath, and the sword just falls out of her hand, clattering to the ground. And as she reaches back and pulls her hood down, I can give you her picture. Please. You see this woman. Much more obvious military confidence than him. And he just looks like terrified by this whole thing. And as she pants, she sees him first and then looks over to all of you and, visitors, I see. I'm afraid you've come at a most inauspicious time. She looks over at the coffin. Are you going to be the ones to finally lay the beast to rest? And we'll pick up there next week.
Oh, snap. We got some killing to do with people we don't know.
Yeah, you're just kind of dumped in here, but yeah. So you've met Ismark and Irina. You've had a brief tour of Valaki. You met Granny.
Barovia.
Yes, Barovia. Sorry, I said Valaki because I was looking at Valaki in my pop-ups.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, brief tour of Barovia Village.
You've seen more of those dirty Vistani people?
Yeah.
They're like
They do seem kind of shitty, don't they?
I can't just say
they're like the
that that's
gypsies of this world.
Yeah.
Hey, I
They're
didn't use
very
the G
much
word until
supposed
just now. I didn't use the G word until just now, but
Just now.
They're very much supposed to feel that way. That is like literally what they're coded after.
don't leave your pockets open around them.
That's right.
Hide your nuts.
A nut's a nut.
The chipmunk, too funny, really. But yeah, hopefully enjoyable. I know they're kind of short, but I can't run too much longer. And
That's
I
fine.
mean,
2.5
2 hours,
perfect.
40 minutes is not short.
yeah,
Yeah,
oh,
we
fair.
got, we got a lot of
It's longer than
exposition
anything we've done in Fendover.
and exploration to get through in these early sessions, just because it's not like, oh
It's
yeah, this is fair. You know everything there is to know about fair.
Yeah.
because-
Right,
And
there's a
you
lot
don't-
more
Right.
world building
And
to
you don't
it.
want it to be a whole information dump where one session is all this information. You want to, ease
Yeah.
through it. That way you can remember it.
Split it up. Yeah.
I think
Exactly.
we've got quite a good bit though. I have a feeling things are going to start kicking off next session where it's like, all right, we have maybe another little exposition dump. Be like, all right, there's still some puzzle pieces that we have that like would be really nice to know that we can probably know now. And then it's like, all right, now it's time to start figuring shit out.
I'll go through because I was jotting down notes like the whole time though, so I'll go through them though and do the shared player notes for things I feel like were noted that weren't written down yet.
Yeah, Dave did a good
I
job.
have like a page.
I've just been
of notes
dumping
on it.
as I feel like it, and obviously, you guys can add to.
Because there's certain, I'm not really sure, but I have a suspicion about some characters with Raven Queen stuff.
Frank's got like a chart of each character with like a how much I trust you bar.
No, it's not like that.
I don't
but,
trust you.
yeah. How'd you what was the spelling for the guy like with the empty mind at the bar?
Eric.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eric, A-R-I-K.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because I got some notes about him.
You delete a couple lines of my notes.
A lot of the stuff I wrote down was already put in the shared player notes, though, so yeah, I'll go through all that stuff.
Oh, we can edit each other's notes in here. That's dope.
Oh yeah. If it's
Oh.
the shared one, the shared player notes.
Yeah,
I can't.
it lets me do it.
Why
Oh
don't you
no, it
edit
doesn't have
yours?
edit. It doesn't. Yeah, it lets me edit my own, but
Oh.
yeah, you go like four of them.
Yeah,
Never
no
mind.
kidding.
I must
Well,
have
what you
clicked the
could-
wrong one.
What you could do is reply with any tweets.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's back to what post you're. But yeah, I had fun with that. I hope I'm not leaving off and like I like to leave on a cliffhanger if I can, not too
Cliffhangers
sharp
are
of
cool
one,
to leave
but
on.
It's a better way to do it.
Yeah. More interesting to leave like that. So you go, ooh, I wonder what's going to happen next. Then yeah, you wander on the road. We'll pick up next week. You know,
Yeah, nice
I don't
cliffhanger.
know if it was like this last time or not, or if I've just adapted to start asking the right questions. But I feel like there's so many more breadcrumbs where I'm like, that is not reflective of what we've done so far.
making a point to do so because there were a lot of things that were missed or not picked up on in the
Yeah.
first run. So
Heck yeah.
making a point to be a little bit more conversant about some of it.
But it felt natural. Didn't feel forced. Felt natural to me.
I aim for that. And again, people throw out these terms.
Mostly because if we didn't say anything, I'm sure he just would have kept talking. It's like it's up to us to be like, hold on,
right.
that's a
and
guess of it, but we don't have.
that's literally what I was
elaborate.
just going to say. To these people, these are just the facts of life, and they're not unusual things that need explanations. So just throw terms and people out there that, oh, everybody else knows about them. And then you, as outsider, has to go, wait, hang on. Explain? Because again, to Ismark, it's not weird to mention the domains of dread or the core or any of that. That's just his life, you know? So,
And to make it a
Just
point
go in the
too,
middle, snake it.
not to Jacobachi's not going to be a comic relief character like the whole time. It's just mostly that if he's not hunting, he's just kind of awkward. He doesn't really understand, So I don't mean to always
No,
throw
I
a ton
got
of
it.
jokes, but he's not just going to be a joking around character the entire time. I promise you, he has, he's when he's hunting,
Well,
he's a lot more evil. He's a lot more expressive when he's hunting.
You have a clear goal of what you want to accomplish too, though.
absolutely. Like, it's clear that he is focused on that. But also, what I will say is an occasional bit of comedic relief is not a problem. I think that too much gloom and doom in a row both gets boring and loses its sting.
And
so
also,
if there
I
isn't
mean,
a bit of levity back and forth,
look at the
it's
char-
not as effective.
Look at the character icon. He's a hunter who follows Malar. He's edgelord all day, so I don't want to be like that. I want to kind of be a little sillier, because
Femboy.
For sure.
yeah, because he's definitely he looks like an anime character. I love it.
It's funny, actually. I was not 100% sure if it was a male or female character when I saw the portrait.
Yeah,
Either does Ubachi.
I
it
He
could
doesn't
go
know.
either way.
He doesn't know. He just flows.
But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed that. It's been really fun to run this again because I do quite like this module. I really like it. Obviously, you have not met him. I really like Strahd as a character. He's very fun to play. I just like a lot of NPCs and a lot of settings.
Granny,
a lot of pieces of the setting.
we went on Arena for 1 second, but Granny and Ismark got more personality than Toblin Stonehill and fucking, you know what I'm saying? Like fucking
Yeah.
and fucking my boy, the guy who owns the shop. What's his name? I forget the other guy's name. But yeah, they're just like, hi, I sell stuff. It's cool to like have a character as like a personality.
Of course. It makes the world feel
A
lived
little
in
more real,
if everybody you talk to has a personality.
right?
And I will be perfectly honest. I don't know why I love playing a little old granny character. I just think they're so funny.
Oh,
Like one of my favorite player characters I played was literally a halfling grandmother. Just adorable little doting old lady who wanted to make you tea and make sure that your bumps and bruises were fine after the battle.
Hell yeah.
Cleric.
I once read a thing. This wasn't my game, but I read a thing where this guy had a player who was like super edgelord, max power, double sword, dual wielding min maxer, and he was just ruining the campaign. So he did a thing where the guy got cursed and he became a granny cleric, and he forced the guy. He made the guy role play, and by the time they got done with the dungeon, he was like, "I just want to be the granny. I don't even want to be that other character anymore," because he had learned to like role play as the character and care and start to pretend
really
to be.
funny.
He was like, pinching people's cheeks and wiping off their smudges and shit. You know what I mean? That's hilarious.
Maybe you should force that on Nathan.
Oh, I was thinking about that,
Right.
dude. I was thinking about that. Trust me.
Force him to play a different.
To play like a different character who's like a completely different personality, who's like a healer, not even a damage dealer. It'd be funny.
Hard to start a fight with cure light wounds.
Right?
Not that hard to start one with inflict wounds.
No, that is true.
Inflict wounds are sick. A really good one too is you don't have level 2 yet, but fucking swords or like raining daggers or something of daggers. Like there's no save. You just fucking hit people with daggers. It's like they float around them and just fuck them up.
Oh, cloud of daggers.
Yeah, it's shit's
right?
sick. Yeah, it's disgusting. It's a really good wizard spell.
As I say, that's probably a very particular cleric domain. That's definitely
Totally
not
like a herding cleric.
War Forge domain.
Yeah, freaking I'm gonna take Pass Without a Trace and my summon beast, so that's what I'm going for.
Good.
Pass Without Trace is sick. I don't know if anyone else would get it either, but it's super good, so I'm taking it. I don't plan on taking a lot of concentration spells because summons, but sometimes when you're not in combat, you just
it's good to have utility spells too.
Yeah.
And Pass Without Trace has been very helpful in our Witchlight game.
Oh yeah, how's that going?
It's going pretty well. I'm pretty sure we pissed off Endelyn because we were supposed to be coming back to bring her cat, which unfortunately is a very dead cat, not through our choices, but
right.
It was killed by Skabatha. But also, we know that we're going to have to fight Endelyn, and I tried to take over the storm in Yon and overlord the lightning network.
Yeah.
As a druid, Call Lightning will usurp control of a thunderstorm.
That's sick.
And so I don't know if we've melted the Orrery of Tragedies or not, but I tried. And then when we went back into the castle, we were attacked by all of the Darklings.
That's fair.
So our last session was literally 3 combats
like foraging,
back to back.
Heck on sight.
That's pretty sick. Yeah, we did like a big battle thing too. We teamed up with those little homies down in the bottom of that area, like the 2 foraging tribes. We got them to team up.
Yeah.
And we
Chorts and
they're the one miners who are always mining all the time.
Yeah.
They're pretty cool. But no, that campaign's sick. I'll tell you right now, Dave, that campaign is the coolest like trifecta of hags I've ever seen in my life. They're so sick. They're all like really well made, and they're all unique, and they're all cool, and they all have like cool.
They're so cool. I think I sent Dave a picture of Endelyn.
She's the one
puppeteer. That has like
She's
the
the
shadow
coolest
puppets
one.
in her chest.
She's the coolest one.
Yeah.
Weird, like umbrella spider legs.
She's so sick.
But yeah, and I will say, I think that Wild Beyond the Witchlight has just like the most whimsy of any mod I've ever seen. It's just super fun, super interesting, and that opening chapter of the carnival is so fucking fun.
I missed that. I should do that. I gotta do that. That's what everyone told me. I'm a dumbass for missing it.
If it's like entirely a role play thing, so like it doesn't matter what level you are.
Yeah.
If we finish this and you guys would want to, I don't mind running just the carnival.
Right.
It's just
doesn't matter what level you are. But the clown character that you love in that one short, Dave?
Yeah.
He was created in that campaign. They were playing Witchlight, and that guy threw a random.
He's one of the carnies.
He's one of the carnies, and that's how the clown got created. It was from
Right,
that.
Gideon just like killed him and
they're
put a punch to the side.
He threw like a piece of food or something. And
I think he literally threw like a chicken drumstick.
And he killed him. But that's from that.
Then he starts
campaign.
haunting him.
That's a really.
And I love when they add the second one. It's just hilarious.
Yeah. That's
then
a
the
sick
first
campaign.
one convinces the second one to come to hell. He tells him like it's gonna be heaven,
I don't know about
and
you,
it's
but
not.
we had a lot of reskins of like very popular like Disney fairy tales, like Peter Pan. There was a Peter Pan thing.
No,
There
that's
was
just part of the mod.
That's part of it.
Yeah,
Okay, because there was a ton
yeah.
of that. I'm like, oh my god, there's just so much fucking shit from fucking like Fate. Not even Disney, because Disney took it from other
Right, it's
like
just
Jack and the
general Grimm
Beanstalk
fairy
and shit
tales.
like that, like
Yes.
old fairy tale shit.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
No, it's cool. My buddy wants to do another Tomb of Annihilation on the 28th of August. And I might do it because my first experience was so shitty.
Right.
But I don't want to make like an in-depth character because I assume he's going to die, so.
Well, that's the thing. You got to talk to whoever's running it.
My
Are you running
DM.
it on meat grinder mode, or are you running it?
He didn't say he was, but he's like, I'm going to
RP
punish you for your, mistakes and shit, which is fine by me. But
Yeah.
I was going to be like a healing of the hands monk. Was a dwarf. Do like the dwarven fortitude / I think it's called durability combo. Because like durability lets you, every time you heal, you can add your like, you can use a hit dice with it. And
Yes.
then the other one, like every time you dodge, you get to use a hit dice. So like you
I
can
believe
dodge a
that's it.
bunch as a monk, or it's like dash or dodge, and you do it a bunch as a monk with your bonus action, and then heal yourself, and then use your action to heal your homies and shit. It's pretty cool. Definitely some Reddit shit, but I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna make a character, play it, have
Why
fun.
not?
You know what I mean? Like, if he dies, I'll make my next one. I was thinking about making, because he wanted us to have characters with fears. I was gonna make an Eric Cocker that was like scared to fly, scared of heights. So he'd only like fly 5 feet off the ground and shit.
Mhm.
You know?
That's funny.
So shit like that.
Oh, fuck. God, I got tired.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go like make a lunch and
Yep.
feed the fish and shit.
Good
but
shit.
Thanks for playing, guys. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Good
definitely.
shit.
Oh, and I should check next week after.
I'm good Monday.
Next week, I think I'm doing dog sitting for Andy though, so I'm probably gonna be over at his house.
Okay.
You got
Um,
that for his computer?
Yeah. Do you want to still play or do you want to wait?
I was gonna
Either
say
way.
he probably has at least a desktop. You can just bring your own headphones.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I could just bring over my shit too. So yeah, I'll figure
If I
that.
see you, I can just loan you a laptop if you want.
All right. Let's sounds like let's tentatively
Yeah, soft.
plan on it.
As far as I'm aware, I should be available. If I do end up having to travel, I should still be at a hotel by the evening.
Fair enough. Great event. Boop.
I mean, if anything, though, he lives down the street from me. I could probably just spend like the couple hours over here too. It's probably not going to be that big of a deal.
Fair enough.
He
I mean,
does live.
he's crate trained, so.
Yeah.
Works for me. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to it.
Yep.
You guys have a good night.
Shoot for it.
You too.
Yep.
Take it
Later.
easy.
Peace.
See ya.
Heck yeah. Ari finally beat Ho-Ho in Johto. The Ho-Ho
Oh yeah.
fucking raid.
Did he
yeah.
die at all?
He died like 3 times. But not
Nice.
I said 10, but that Houndoom was doing work because 1, it's fire type, so it can't get burned, and 2, the fucking Dark
He's
Pulse.
EV'd and IV'd out this fucking dickhole.
The Dark Pulse was just money.
But it's dope. Yeah, I still gotta play that. I think I'm in the middle of fucking